Good evening, all. How are you on this fine Tuesday, of which we're having incredible weather, I'm sure. Absolutely the best weather everywhere. I know it's going to rain out in Canada soon. It's been raining here today, here in Nottingham. I'm not a huge fan. No, don't mind the rain. I'm waterproof, after all. Just rolls off. I'm joined by Shane, frequent guest on the channel. How are you doing, Shane?
I'm doing great. Glad to be here.
Excellent. Good to have you. We've got Pat coming in with some hot takes. Everything but Bombard's D tier. Bombards without engineers A tier. Okay, I'll give Outriders a low B. I feel like we might value some things in this book a little bit more highly than Pat. There's a small chance there anyway. What do you reckon?
You're right. I love Bombards, love Outriders. He's not wrong there. Yeah.
Those are two of the best units in it. It is hard to disagree with that. But yeah, fantastic. Well, so when I was cooking this one up, the first thing I noticed was when I put all the units in, I was like, man, there's I think 14 units. Then I put the Dogs of War in. I was like, man, it's only 19 units, which is not very much. So we're also going to be looking at the 4 upgrades that you can purchase for all of your characters, which is an interesting system. So I think that's a good place to start, just in terms of talking about the Arcane Journal. How do you feel about having upgrades that can go on all of the characters? Now, the characters are maybe not the most exciting, but as an upgrade system, I think it's interesting.
Oh, I think it's brilliant. I love when I'm a modular, give me lots of choices kind of guy. So being able to take I can take outlaw on my wizard, I can take outlaw on my prince, I can take outlaw, blah blah. It being different and differently useful on the different characters is really appealing, and especially how with the outlaw and with the renegade knight you get access to different magic items. That opens it up even more, right? So I'm in love with that.
Fantastic, yeah, it is really solid. So in terms of the upgrades that you get, we've got 4 that we'll go through in a second. If you are here and you haven't already, please do give the stream a thumbs up, give it a like. It does help get picked up by the algorithm. It seems like we're starting off a little bit slower this evening, but I think that might be because I forgot to post the link until about 2 hours before we go live. I should probably just find a way to automate that. I'm sure there is a way to automate it.
Yeah, that'd be smart.
It would, make my life a lot easier for sure. Adam says, an oops, all ambush list sounds fun. Can you do that? Can you go the cavalry,
probably,
the highly outriders can go ambush. I think it's 0 to 1 per 1,000 points. I don't think any of the core infantry can go ambush unless I'm forgetting something.
Can archers?
Oh, that's a good shout. Maybe. They can definitely have scout. Yeah, probably. You probably could do that. And there's no rule in the old world, which means that you lose if you don't have any models on the table. Although there is
you will get you'll get cruted if you do that, because they could theoretically block you from coming on, but it would take a lot of minis to stop you. So
yeah, I was going to say there's the classic picture from a tournament back in. Oh, thank you very much, Amy. Appreciate that. Good to have you here. Goldfire says the polo will bring in more viewers. People have been commenting on the fact that I've been wearing a polo shirt that shows chest hair. Apparently, I'm flattered, but not sure that that's the focus I'm going for.
You gotta ramp up the sex appeal. That's right.
I'd rather not. Maybe I just need a dedicated feet cam. Maybe that's the way to do it. I really don't want to do that. Thank you so much, Tanako. Alric the Gat Master, Outcast Wizard with repeater pistol is minus minimum S tier. So we'll get into these properly, but when I've been writing lists, I have been giving my wizards repeater pistols. Is it the most points efficient? It's only 8 points, and they have ballistic skill 3, which is the same with the rest of the unit they're in. So I'm like, you know what? Sure, load me up. I as the unit
4, brother. The noble outlaw. Noble outlaw gives you +1 ballistic skill.
Oh, of course it does. There we go. Yeah. That is a big upgrade compared to the lowly ballistic skill 3 that you roll with. Yeah, no, in that case, 8 points is definitely worth it. I'll be taking that any day of the week. Amy says preparing for the Kislev announcement. Oh, chest hair. I see. Very good. It's because of the Marauders. The hairy Marauders that we saw teased yesterday, which blew my mind. I finally got round to watching the square based video, talking about what they thought, and they talked for a good amount of time about what it could mean for the game, and it was good. It was nice, got me hyped, because I just went, sweet, new models, amazing. Hope we get those this year. And then they went on a long tangent of what does this mean? What changes could this mean in terms of the internal workings of the company that I had not pulled from that?
The thing I'm really looking forward to finding out is if those bases are 30 millimeters, because that's kind of wild, right? If they're supposed to be the same unit, like the same profile.
Yeah.
Are they expecting everyone to take their minis off bases again?
Well,
again?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of what they have, there are examples of units that have models with multiple base sizes. So I wouldn't be surprised if
that's true.
They were like, hey, we're just saying, like, here's the new Marauder data sheet. It can have 25 mil or 30 mil, but next year or next edition, we'll just roll them out with 30 mil bases, something like that. You can always just use unit spaces like trays that fill them, which is probably fine.
It's gonna be annoying for the people who want to run the small bases with the new minis, right? Because they'll have to try and I mean that's Warhammer. That's how it's been. I
was going to say that's what Warhammer Fantasy
trying to squeeze all your Empire soldiers on 20 mil bases and that kind of thing. But yeah,
the classic Warriors of Chaos that came out in like I want to say 6th edition. The like basically mono
2004.
Ones.
Yep.
Yeah, and you're like, well, they do kind of fit next to each other on a 25 mil. But like maybe if I angle them slightly,
be like this.
Some of them a little bit further forward, some of them a little bit further back, so the shields doesn't do anything like that. Some good advice in chat. Goldfire says you need to be careful with branding yourself a bear on the internet. Just saying, that's good advice, and I will be very clear as to what I do and do not brand myself as.
Depends on what you're into, I guess, right? But
Well, in terms of Kislev, I was going to make a joke and say, in terms of Kislev, I'm a bear enthusiast, and then I stopped and I was like, that's so clippable, and then I said it anyway, because
it's too late. It's out of that one already.
I think I added enough context in there that hopefully you can't turn that into anything. But well, we've done it now. Vesper, just going back to the wizard pistols, which is actually relevant to what we're talking about instead of my chest hair. He says, I play a Mortime campaign where one of my friends has a wizard warband, all with pistols, the Shadow Wizard Money Gang, real vibes. I like that. That is how I'd like to play Mortime. Does it work? Sometimes. Is it good? Perhaps. Does it bring the gap? Fuck yeah, it does. Okay. So, what have we done? We've talked a little bit. We've waited for people to get here. All of that is good. I don't think we need to stall any longer. We're probably up to a respectable start here on the live stream. Although now that
I love the stalling.
Yeah, absolutely. Professional staller. Now that everyone is here, if you are here and have joined in the last sort of 8 minutes, but you haven't given the stream a thumbs up, would appreciate it. Helps me get picked up by the algorithm. Yeah, exactly like that. You can either click the button or you can just do it to your monitor, because obviously they're always watching through the cameras. The nebulous.
Hey man, I did my part.
Absolutely, I'm doing my part. I'll give it 2. If you give it 2, it turns into a downvote, which is obviously worse. So careful what you do there. Fuck's sake, you may run out of spells, but never out of shells. Brilliant. I'm gonna have to look up the Mortime rules so I can start building my own wizard gat gang. That'll be the way to do things. So this is a tier list. It's been a little while since we've done an army tier list on the channel, but the same rules apply. Now, it is very early into this army, so you might think, oh, this is a little bit speculative. They've probably only played a few practice games. The title of the stream is the objectively correct tier list. So whether or not it's true, reality now has to bend to our whims. So if we say something that isn't correct, unfortunately it is now correct. And I just need to put that out there in the universe, because that's how things are going. The tiers are S tier. This is a tournament staple. You're going to see this in every tournament army because it's good, not because you have to. So let's say, for example, you had to take a wizard for Tomb Kings, but Tomb Kings are terrible, and you hated taking wizards. In that situation, the wizard wouldn't go in S tier. But this is, you're putting it in every tournament list, and also it's good, and you're happy. Yeah, you're happy to do so.
You want this. Yeah.
A tier is, these things are still great. They're going to make it into most lists. Maybe your specific playstyle doesn't work with it, but you're maybe struggling to leave them on the leave them on the shelf because they are very effective at what they do. B tier, these units are fine. There's probably something better that you could be doing, but if you want to go in a certain direction, you know, these are fine units. You can probably find some fun combos with them in the book. C tier, they're not great. They're pretty inefficient. They don't really have a job. Or maybe there's an A tier unit that does the same thing as them, but the A tier unit does it way better. I actually don't know that there's much of that in this list, which is good. And then F tier, this is actively harming yourself to take it. You can take this if you want. Your list is noticeably worse. As I've gone through and played more Old World and done fix my list and stuff, I've appreciated how you can add additional units. You know, you can have a pet unit, one pet unit per army, and the pet unit can be bad, and it doesn't really ruin your army. So when you start going too many of those, if you put too many of these F tier units in your list, you might struggle. But one you can probably get away with. But you know, by putting one of the F tier units in, it's definitely harming your chances to win a little bit. All right, we've got excellent chatters here. Flavor, I've played 0 games with or against Renegade Crowns. I feel ready to weigh in. We've got the Facebook contingent here.
You're qualified.
Qualified. Absolutely. Absolutely. The most qualified Warhammer commentator, actually. I think this is... everyone is equally qualified, and we all are at that level of qualification.
Why don't we go watch his stream? It seems like he has some stuff to say.
To be clear, this was not meant to sound mean-spirited. I love the comment. I realized as we were talking, it did sound specifically like we were ragging on him, so I do want to just clarify that. Flavor is someone that I've seen have incredibly normal takes about things before. So we can move on to the stream before I put my foot in my mouth in any more real way. We're going to look at the army special rules to begin with, and these are Infamous Origins that you can purchase, and they unlock other rules as well. So there's 4 that you can buy, and to start off with, the important thing to note is that you can't buy magic items for your army unless it's specifically from the core rulebook. Now, someone did bring something up on one of the videos that I put up, and they said, actually, Outcast Wizards and Borderland Brigands can buy them from the Bretonia book. It's not clear. What are your thoughts on this?
It is fully ambiguous.
Yeah.
The FAQ that people reference about this predates a lot of the Armies of Infamy having like magic items from other books. Yeah. And no one really knows exactly what they want, if it's like just the one from their book, or if it's like their book plus the new ones, or if it's just the new ones. So basically ask your TO or ask your buddy you're playing like what they think is the most reasonable, and then go with that for the most part. I think the majority of people out there, like the community FAQ people, are going to be running it that the answer in the FAQ is correct. So for instance, your Dragon Ogre Shaggoth in a Wolves of the Sea army can take Beastman items, but not Warriors of Chaos items. And then, yes, the Outcast Wizard can take the Bretonia items. And then I think it's obvious, but some people would disagree, that if you take the thing that allows you to take Empire items in this context, you are also allowed to have Empire items, but there are people who will fight you on that one. So
I'm glad I asked you, because you said before we went live, it's like, I'm sure we're going to align completely on it, and this is probably the thing that we're going to disagree about the most. My expectation, and I know rules is written, I think what you're saying is correct, but for me, when I look at it and I go, okay, so there's three characters that you can take. 2 of them are just 2 tiers of the same character. So we're really restrictive here. And on the same page, it says you're only allowed to take Empire items. You're only allowed to take the core items. Then there is specifically an upgrade that you can buy that gives you access to the Bretonian items. For me, I think the intent there feels clear, but the problem with arguing intent, which I shouldn't do and try not to do in general, is that I can't read the minds of a Games Workshop writer. And often, what I think sounds reasonable and fair is the exact opposite of what they have thought up. When you see an FAQ come around, you're like, that is something I would never expect.
I don't try to get into their minds anymore. It's there's been enough times where like I'm like, oh yeah, obviously it's this. Like, how could they possibly mean this other thing? And then they're like, oh no, it's this other thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I guess. Yeah, whatever. But one thing I will say is the magic items text in this book does not say only common items. It just says may purchase common magic items, right? So it's not saying you are forbidden from others. You just don't have any permission yet to take others.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, I think
So
you can probably hear the fireworks. Let me just close my window. You keep talking.
yeah. So in my view, so the FAQ that Jittery put out would allow the Outcast Wizard to obviously take the Britonia ones as well, and then if you take the Noble Outlaw one, that also just gives you permission to take. It says may take Empire items.
Yeah.
So in my view, like a reasonable way to read that would be you can take Common, Britonia, and Empire on that specific character. But again, I think it's very unclear, and I don't know exactly what they would say.
So yeah, I think that if you want to put magic items on your wizard from one of the books, you should have to buy the upgrade here. But I'm just now thinking back, are there any sort of like bullshit versions of being able to take it from both book? Is there anything that jumps out to you as like, oh, this is the standout, I really want to have these two items together?
Oh, do you mean, are there any like crazy combos you can take?
Yeah, like arcane item combos.
The Britonia has an item where you get +1 to Dispel when you're near a natural terrain feature, and then you could take that with the Empire Wizard's Familiar to get another +1.
That's true. That is pretty bullshit.
You could there's also the extra Dispel range and +1 to Dispel Hexes item, plus that same item, the Wizard's Familiar.
Yeah.
But like, again, is this backbreaking? No. It's like a good thing, but is it like the craziest thing ever? Probably not.
Sure. Yeah. All right. Well, so work out how you feel about that. Talk to your friends, talk to your TOs, and work from there. My rank ratings are to do with the fact that if you want to have Bretonian items, you have to take the actual upgrade. I don't think that's actually going to change where the position of anything is on this tier list anyway. So just good to have that chat beforehand. We're going to start off. I'm going to read all four of these through one at a time, and we'll tee off in terms of who sort of what we think about them and where we place them. But I'll do all the reading, save you having to have things to hand. First of all, we've got the Might of Miragliano, which is 25 points. It gives you +1 to your leadership, which is good because the leadership in this book is pretty dog. We've got Stubborn Antillean Stoicism. Antillean Stoicism is basically just stubborn that applies to the unit that you join, so that's quite nice. Obviously, characters can be sniped out. These characters can be sniped out pretty easily, given how squishy they are. But it's a nice upgrade. But it also does give you the upgrade, I can't remember the name.
Phalanx.
Yeah, Phalanx. The Phalanx upgrade. 10 points, and it goes on it's just the sellswords and the veteran sellswords, I think, that you can give it to. Yes. But it upgrades them to heavy infantry for 10 points for a unit, upgrades them to heavy infantry, and it also gives them does not be disrupted if they're charged by anything with first charge. And they can be longer than they are wide without being in marching column, as long as they're at least 4 models wide, because that's what they need. I mean, just to start off with, this is a great, for 25 points, this is great. Unlocking the phalanx rule. If I don't want the Mighty Miragliano rule, I'm still taking it, because for 10 points for the unit that I put it on, I'm getting an incredible upgrade. And I'm probably always running sellswords in the list that I've been writing. So for me, this is straight up there, straight into S tier. What do you think?
This is a really good upgrade. It does several things that you would like. Like, the leadership is nice, the stubborn is nice, and like the stoicism spreading the stubborn to the unit is nice. Phalanx is good. The main thing that holds us back for me from being like super amazing S tier is that it's the opportunity cost. You have to take, if you've taken this, you can't be Renegade Knight, you can't be Noble Outlaw, you can't be Wandering Diastro. So, and that has implications because, you know, your magic item pool is much limited. This doesn't unlock any of the other magic items. So this character is only taking, you know, Charm Shield, Biting Blade, that kind of thing, right? So,
sure.
And then furthermore, you probably only want one of these, right? Because it's unlikely you want multiple big Phalanx units. I think just the one is plenty, right? So, while I will probably have this in most of my lists, it's like, man, I wish I could take this and also have Empire items and also have Britonia items or whatever, right? Because those are awesome. Right?
Yeah.
So,
well, by your interpretation, you can have Bretonian items as well. But
if it's on your wizard,
yes, yeah. So Voltan in chat, who is one of the most dedicated Empire players I know, Owen, who I've talked to a good chunk about Empire, but not for a while, points out that Outcast Wizard with Lore Familiar and Power Scroll is a good character to chop stubborn onto. God, I can't do words this evening, but it's a good place to put stubborn. If you go for that Demonology Wizard that's going to be buffing up that unit of, veteran sellswords when we get to them, that's a really good place to put it, and that's where I've been putting it in my list. Because I agree, I only put one in, but I have been putting one in every list.
Yeah, same here. If I had the ability to take this and one of the other ones, I would often take that and one of the other ones too, because I want those items.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But just on the face of it, like maybe S because you're taking in every list.
Sure.
But I could also see A because so I like some of the other ones more. But
yeah. I think through the definition of the tier list, we'll put it in S, but it's probably going to end up lower in the tier than some of the other things. Maybe some of the other upgrades that we're looking at here. So next up, we've got the Renegade Knight. So this gives you +1 weapon skill and strength, which is nice because you start off for your top level character, weapon skill 6 and strength 4, which is pretty underwhelming. So this gets you on par with the Bretonnian Lord. If you don't think about the fact that you've only got 3 attacks instead of 5, don't worry about it. It's absolutely fine. It's incredibly fine. And you can't buy virtues. It's cool. It's fine. We definitely want to make melee characters for this.
And Pegasus.
Oh yeah, and you can't have a Pegasus or a Griffin or an Imperial Griffin or a Hippogriff. Yeah. God, I'd kill for a Hippogriff in this list. But it does unlock items from the Kingdom of Bretonnia, from not only the Force of Fantasy, but the Arcane Journal Kingdom of Bretonnia. Now, I've had some people argue with me that this allows you to unlock the ones that are locked to detachments. No, because that specifically says that it has to be in errantry or exiles, so it doesn't do those. Which is a
large flavor fail. It is a large flavor fail that you can't take the exile items on these characters.
That's fair. That is fair. I wouldn't mind them, a year down the line, be like, what, screw it, just have these extra 5 items.
It would be really good.
Including the Frontier Axe. Which
it would be really good.
I don't even know if I'd pay for the Frontier Axe, because, yes,
you wouldn't pay for the Frontier Axe.
On a 3-attack model?
It's 30 points!
It is, but I think if I'm leaning on my character to do damage, I've really shot myself in the foot.
It's just a sick item for 30 points.
There is a weapon combo that I quite like. We can get to when we talk about the prince. That I'm like, actually, yeah, I'm gonna go with this, and I'm pretty happy to put this on my characters. But I think your point is fair. It is 30 points. It is a good weapon, but when it's not teed up with that 4th attack on a Pegasus, and then also the Knightly Temper, I'm looking at it's a very good 30-point magic weapon. But
yeah, it's not the same thing you see in the Bretonnia armies, but it's still by far and away the best 30-point weapon you can get anywhere, right? Yeah. So yeah.
Yes, I'm pretty sure there's nothing in the game that's better for 30 points. The Dragon Bow at 25 points is probably, up there in terms of you could make an argument for it being good, but it's not even on the same tier.
Agreed. Yeah, it's there's nothing on its weight class for sure. Yeah. So this guy, the Renegade Knight, it's good. It's fine. The other things that get, we didn't talk about the others. Do you want to finish the
sure? Yeah.
Stuff?
So you get Noble Disdain and Veteran. Veteran is Veteran. Noble Disdain means that if you're cavalry, you don't take a panic test. If infantry flee through you or are destroyed within 6 inches, so it's got that the peasant rule and the Knight's Vow combination from Bretonnians. But then when you buy this, you can buy an upgrade for your Freeblade Knights or your Veteran Freeblades, which puts them in lance formation. And I like that. Over to you.
So what this does for your character, those are good things. Extra weapons, also strength. You're happy to have that. The basic humanish stat line that the prince starts with is not that inspiring. With this, he can hit most things on 3s, some things on 2s, and then with a weapon that gives him +2 strength, he's gonna be wounding almost everything on 2s, and maybe not the biggest stuff like toughness 6 stuff, but the Bretonnia magic item list is good. It's not incredible for this guy. No. A lot of it is tooled around the fact that you can have a Pegasus and be flying around and that kind of stuff. So there's not a ton of super appealing options in there. You I'm sure people can find some fun combos, but I'm not super impressed by it. Veteran is awesome, but one thing is that your veteran sellsword's already a veteran. And a lot of the time, they're going to be leadership 10 anyway. So it's not going to... not going to weigh one way or the other. So it's helpful, but not incredible. I guess you could take the Falcon Horn with
Yeah,
Darwin. That's kind of cool, right? If you want, right? The panic thing is nice, but like not incredible. Like sometimes you want to panic when that stuff happens, right? Like if you're a cav unit, you want to change your phasing. That's
sure.
a great thing. It also lets you change in and out of lance formation if you're going that way, right? So, um, yeah. So this one I'm taking sometimes. I'm not taking every game. If I really want to lean into the Cav stuff, I would consider this pretty heavily, but I would probably put this in like a B. It's like it's not bad. It's got good stuff behind it and it does good stuff, but some of the other options are more appealing to me. So.
Yeah. You know what would be a really good item to go with this from the Bretonian book if you could take it? Crusader's Lance from the Errantry Crusade magic items. It's the only thing, I think it's the only time I'd ever take it. It's a lance, strength +2, AP -2, armor bane 2, furious charge, hatred all enemies. 4 attacks rerolling hits. Suddenly, we've got a mediocre character cooking. That's something.
It's 60 points. Like
yeah. But like the character itself costs about, tuppence. So when you look at it in that terms.
Yeah, it's not a bargain though. Like
no.
You're looking at like 150, 160 points depending on what else you give them.
Yeah. I like how you say that as
right.
if that's a downside. That's so cheap. The characters in this book are just dirt cheap because they're dirt. But
the thing is that your character like that in any other army is going to have a 50 to 200 point mount as well, right? And then this guy does not have that. He's just on a horse.
I've seen like at least 3 people playing characters on horses. Now, did I advise them maybe to not?
Are they Chaos Lords? Are they Chaos Lords? Because
Bretonian
this guy's not a Chaos Lord.
Bretonian players who were sick of winning.
Yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, no, I think like I probably would play around with the Crusader's Lance. Like I know it is pricey for it, but you could actually get a little bit of punch in the unit. I think it's the best thing that you could do in terms of actual output on this character. Anyway, that still probably wouldn't make it into one of my lists. That's a theoretical for me.
It's worth a thought, yeah. But do you agree with B?
I think B seems fair, yeah. This is basically here so you can add Bretonian items. Even from my perspective, where you have to buy this to put the Bretonian items on the Outcast Wizard, I don't know that I necessarily want to do that, because I think the Empire items are really good. Or
the Empire items are better.
Yeah. Lore Familiar and a couple of Power Scrolls. And that's just a great loadout for the Demonology caster. So I don't feel like you need it really on anyone. There's nothing that jumps out to me.
Yeah, I agree with you fully there.
Perfect. So next up, we have got the Noble Outlaw. And this one is gas, straight gas, top to bottom, right up until we get the upgrade that you can put on it from the so you can upgrade brigands with this, and you might be okay with that because I know you have been a brigand enjoyer at points of this edition. I'm a brigand hater, so I'm very disappointed that the upgrade comes into to buff brigands in some form or another, because I'm like, screw that unit. I don't want to look at them. I don't want them to exist.
I think we're mixing them up. This one doesn't have brigand upgrades. That's the next one.
The Noble Outlaw, is that not the
Noble Outlaw gets you Outriders?
Oh, sorry. Yes, you're absolutely right. This doesn't. No, this upgrades the Hiling Outriders. It just upgrades them in a way that's really disappointing. There we go. Got it wrong. Disappointing to me, anyway. I wanted plus ballistic skill on them. That's what I was looking for.
Oh yeah.
So, 20 points for the Noble Outlaw. Gives you +1 to ballistic skill and leadership. Any of the upgrades that give you plus leadership in this army are really good, really worth looking at. Gains you Hold the Line. It gets you the, which is the immune to panic rule from captains, I believe. Yeah. It gives you the ability to buy a ranged weapon, even if you couldn't already. So handgun, repeater pistol, shortbow, longbow. Great. I'm having one of those. Thank you very much. And then you can also take one of the following ambushes as scouts for 10 points per model. And those are fine. I don't hate those at all. And then what it upgrades is it ambushes for the... I can't remember exactly what it gives the Outriders.
It is, yes, ambush for 1 point per model.
Sure. It's... Yeah. That's fine. That's not a bad rule, but I really wanted it to be ballistic skill. With that said, this unlocks items from Empire. And that's where I think the everything else you get in there is good. I think the unlocking item from Empire really, really sells this. This allows you to take the Griffin banner on your BSB. This allows you to take Wizard Staff or Wizard Familiar. It is, I always get them mixed up. The one that gives you +1 to cast. There's one that gives you +1 to spell. both of them are gas. Like
I told you to take the wizard staff from
uh,
Lord
you can also take the twin-tailed wand, which is you can cast a spell twice, but good luck if you miscast, you just take a flat D3 wounds. Too bad, so sad. No armor or regen saves allowed. You're allowed a ward save, but if you go for this and the +1 to cast the magic missiles, you don't have points for a ward save, so you just die. If sorry, you have a 2/3
2/3 of the
chance of
time.
dying. So you just die, but you get to cast the summoning twice with +3 to your roll, which is pretty okay. We don't hate that here. That's pretty fine, and it's one of the best range output vehicles that you have in this list, which is definitely worth considering.
Here's a question for you about that one. So the twin-tailed wand.
Yeah.
Do you read that any miscast is suffering that, or just the double cast one?
Yeah, any miscast. It just says
okay.
Miscast.
That's how I read it too. A couple people I've talked to about this read this as like, however, should they miscast a spell, meaning the one that you're trying to cast twice?
No.
If it was that, I'd be a lot more interested. But
yeah, absolutely.
If it's any spell, you're gonna die. Like you're
Yeah.
gonna kill yourself for sure.
It's the classic of, unfortunately, there was a full stop. It's a new sentence. They're just talking about a new thing, which is a shame because, as you point out, if it is just the second miscast, it gets twice as good because you're half as likely to kill yourself. But
well, way less likely if you're casting 3 or 4 spells a turn, right? If it's just the one extra spell that you have the mega miscast on, you're way less likely to kill yourself, right? But so anyway, that's the world we don't live in.
I have been considering just putting that combination, which we'll talk about more when we get to the actual Outcast Wizard. I've been putting that on the level 1 because it's the cheapest model to blow itself up. Yes, you're casting only at +2 for the summoning instead of +3, but like there's a trade-off there where I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'm happier risking, 60 points less every time I cast a spell or something like that. Amy says, any idea what the wanding diestro is supposed to look like? Me with my chest hair, I think, is what I'm going to tell myself. But yeah, Indoyo Montoya from
Inigo Montoya, that's right.
That's the one. I'm glad that you said that correct because it's been probably 15 years since I've seen that film.
Oh my goodness.
For me, this is going in S tier and it's going above the Mighty Miragliano. I think this is the best one in the.
This is the one. Yeah. This is the one, yeah, for sure. Like, first of all, the ability to take the guns is like a monster upgrade because the Outcast Wizard being able to take a gun is like awesome because like that's just shots you weren't getting before. Now you're getting shots and they're good shots, right?
Sure.
So that's awesome. The Empire Magic items are really good. Extra leadership is really good. Ballistic skill is pretty good. Immune to panic can kind of go both ways because again, sometimes you do want to panic. But whatever, we'll take it. And it's cheap. It's 20 points, right? So
yeah, absolutely. Perfect. That takes us on to the fourth one, the wandering diestro, Italian heartthrob with some sort of sharp pointy stick that isn't a great weapon. This gives you for 20 points +2 to your weapon skill, feint and dodge, the special rule which was not finished but they did very quickly FAQ before the book came out, I will point out. They can't take any weapons with the strike class special rule, which is a shame because a great weapon is just default the best weapon that you can give a character without spending 60 points. And then also you could take an additional hand weapon for 3 points if you didn't like doing anything. And then this is the one that unlocks the upgrade for brigands, and once per game they get the same rule, feint to dodge, where you make your opponent reroll successful hits up against you. So you could do something with this with like the dazzling helm.
The dazzling helm.
Bedazzling helm, yeah. So you could do something with that helm, and you could make them, your weapon skill 8, so they hit you on 4s, your -1 hit from the bedazzling helm. You can stack modifiers on it, and that's cool. But what am I tanking? It's not a dragon, because a dragon's going to stomp me. And anything else that's smaller, I'm probably, is coming with a unit that also has a unit champion to just tank the challenge. So I don't really see the use of that necessarily. Do you disagree? Have you found any shining gems with this?
I think it's mostly a flavor pick.
Sure.
Not having the magic item access is like a big downer. Like if this had magic item access of something, it would be a lot more interesting. There's not really a character that you can take that I really want these abilities on. And I was really hoping for like evasive or something to kind of kick it over the edge. I don't think this is horrible,
Hmm.
but again, same with the first one. The opportunity cost of not taking Noble Outlaw or Renegade Knight or even the Might of Miragliano is pretty high. So I don't know how often I'm going to take this. I don't think it's the worst thing ever. So it's probably one of the lower tiers.
Probably C tier then.
Yeah, probably yeah. C makes sense. It's not horrible, and
Yeah,
like it is cool, and like I do, like you said, I do like brigands. I don't think the rule that you get is like that good on the brigands, but
sure.
like it's like okay, yeah. It's 2 points per mini too. Like I've already paid you 20 points for this upgrade. Come on, like give me something.
The one use case I can see for this is if you're taking a wizard and you don't need to take the Mighty Miragliano and you don't care about getting a gun and the Empire items. You make the wizard slightly more survivable just being in a unit. Like, that's the main use case I can see. Because suddenly all the random troops are hitting me on 4s and once per game have to re-roll into me. So that's like, okay, my, T3 2-wound character might not die in the first round of combat to the Dragon Ogre that stood next to it.
I guess.
Yeah, it's the best I
I
can
guess.
find.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, C tier seems
The additional
super
hand
reasonable.
weapon. The additional hand weapon is actually a thing on the wizard, right? Because he normally can't take any weapons, so it's something. It's like
That's
as an
very
ogre
true.
player, I can take additional hand weapons with my butchers, and I take that every time, right? So I'm like, yeah,
Yeah,
it's there, right?
yeah, that's, you know what? That's very fair. Sure. We'll go with that. That is, it does technically boost them. It's
Yeah.
a percentage point somewhere. So let's move on to the Renegade Prince. Now, Renegade Princes are basically Empire generals, and by that I mean they have terrible rules. And by terrible rules, I mean terrible stats, not terrible rules. They come with a very lackluster weapon skill 6, ballistic skill 4. That sucks instead of the 5. You can get a +1 if you take the correct thing, but then you also can't take the Dragon Bow because that's specifically commanders of the Empire that can take that. So sucks to
Yes.
suck. You shouldn't have been exiled or gone mercenary if you wanted to have the good stuff. Strength and toughness 4, 3 wounds, initiative 5, 3 attacks, leadership 8. Again, you can boost this, but if we're comparing it to Empire, who have leadership 10 generals, this is also a shame. It is a shame to have. Now they do have
Well,
Warband on there,
yeah, I
so
was gonna say, yeah.
there is it's not just a flat. This is worse, but yeah, I'd like to just see
Oh,
a higher numbers to start with.
oh, buddy, we got some stuff to talk about later on, but yeah,
Okay, okay.
on that one, yeah.
Equipment, pretty standard. I think this is basically just flat the same as what you can take for Empire characters. I don't think there's anything on there that's extra apart from maybe the
Morningstar,
ranged weapons. Like you can,
Morningstar, but whatever, right?
I mean the Morningstar. It's actually the first time I've ever put a Morningstar on a model and felt like this was the best choice for it because it's a one-handed weapon, and I'm like,
Yeah,
sure.
I used to take it a lot on my paladin that was a horse paladin,
Mhm.
but with the 1.5 nerf to the Morningstar out of nowhere, like I don't know, I guess like whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's got all the classics. You can take up to 100 points of magic items for the prince, and then 50 for the captain that we'll get to later. Gives you Rallying Cry, which is nice to have, veteran, and then Warband as well. However, the only mount option you can have is a horse, which is pretty disappointing. You get both horses. You can have the barded or not the non-barded, depending on what you want to do with it, but it's probably going to be the barded, and it's probably going to be because you want to try and make some sort of aggressive character, I guess. I'm not sure that I'm ever putting a prince specifically in Hireling Outriders. Is there a build that you think that works super well there?
I
No.
mean, it's possible.
Yeah.
The one thing I will say that is really unfortunate about this is that the warhorse option does not have the rule fast cavalry. Right. So if you join him to your hireling outletters, they don't get to use their fast cavalry roll, which is not the end of the world, but it is
Yeah.
kind of annoying. And then, funnily enough, the outcast wizard's horse, because his is from the Bretonia book, does have fast cavalry, and it's on a different size base. It's on a
Amazing.
25 by 50 instead of a 30 by 60. Yeah, so whatever, right?
Love that so much. Love that so
Yeah.
much. But yeah, so for me, there's very little here that I'm excited about. Now, the one time that I did look at putting a character here in with a weapon, I was looking at the Pearl daggers, the Empire daggers that give you extra attacks. And then you put it on foot and you put it in a unit that's also going to be demonologied for Steed of Shadows and Demonic
Yeah.
Vessel. And suddenly you've got an average of 6 attacks at strength 5 AP1 or a strength 5 AP2. I think it's AP1 base. I was like, oh, this is fine.
Yeah.
It rerolls the hits as well. Okay, this is okay, and it's cheap. It's your general. You can still make them pretty tanky. You can give them a white cloak as well, and whatever. And yeah, that was like the best that I could come up with in terms of
Yeah.
an offensive character.
It is such a flavor catastrophe that the Wandering Destro can't take the Pearl Daggers, because like that's the obvious one, right? But like
True.
it's like why not? Come on, guys.
Yeah, yeah,
But yeah, do you want me to give you my lowdown? I have a
yeah.
couple
Go.
things to say.
Yeah.
Okay, so Leadership 8 Warband is awesome, by
Mhm.
the way. That's really good, first of all. And then several of our upgrades here are giving us an extra leadership, right? And
Sure.
it's the ones we're going to be taking. So we're going to be Leadership 9 with Warband, and we have units in Army that have Horde, right? So what that means in practice is, like, in a lot of games, not much.
Yeah.
In the games when you're playing against vampire counts who are giving you negative modifiers to your leadership, oh baby, I start at 12, so you can -2 me, I'll still be at 10,
Does
right?
Warband
So
go above 10?
it doesn't matter, because you have a positive modifier and they have a negative modifier, right?
Is that how
So
that
if
interacts?
there's no ordering to this, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you have a modifier that puts you up, and you have a modifier that puts you down. As long as you're 10 or lower, it's good to go.
I've always played it that basically, because that existed before the other modifiers came in, it was just overwritten. But if that's not how that works, that does make it better.
Yeah, it is slightly better against people who are trying to do nasty stuff to your leadership
Sure.
stat. And he has veteran to start, right? So he already is veteran. So no matter where he is, he's going to be able to reroll his stuff, which is awesome. The Empire General wishes he was veteran, right?
Sure.
And weapon skill 6, it's not nothing, but it's better than what Empire gets. So
Yeah, that's true.
That's
Okay. So that one detail probably, I don't know if it bumps it up at all. Oh, somehow I've moved the tiers. There we go. Let's fix that.
What has happened?
I'd put B to A, which is not how that should have gone. So I think I was probably thinking the top of B. They are super cheap, but with that, I think maybe bottom of A. I could see them for this.
You're gonna have this guy in every army. There's no way you're not gonna have this guy in every army, right?
I guess he is super cheap.
Yeah, he's like, why not? Why not take one? Right?
Well,
like,
so
it makes
for me, it's, are you taking him or are you just taking additional princes, like not captains? Sorry,
captains.
Yeah, for half the points.
I mean, leadership 8. Extra attack, extra wound. Like I think 40 points. That's not too bad. Plus one wound, plus 1 attack, plus 1 leadership and weapon skill.
Yeah,
right. That doesn't sound like a bad deal to me.
Sure.
Yeah,
I don't feel strongly about these. You want to put them in S?
I mean, I just think, like, if we're putting Might of Miragliano in S, this should be an S too. Okay. Like, I'm going to take that every game. Right?
Well, yeah, we'll start it there and then see if we need to move it down. But we can start with it in S. Your reasoning is reasonable. Which takes us on to the captain, which is the same thing, but only 35 points, lower weapon skill, as you point out, lower wound, lower attack, and only 50 points of magic items. You got any secret sauce for this one that makes me go, oh, hell yeah?
The one you said already, the Griffin banner on the BSB is like lights out. It's the best thing you can do. So you're probably always going to take at least one of these guys with the Noble Outlaw. You can do some, like, you can try to make him into a knight kind of guy. That's another thing, is if you're going to try to make the Bretonnian knight guy, going with a guy who has 2 attacks, do you really want to do that? Like, or do you want to spend those points on that guy, or do you want to spend it on the guy who has 3 attacks? Right. That's what I'm going to
say. Which is a fair point. If I was at all interested in making the knight guy, having looked at it and gone, this just doesn't make the
I'm personally not.
Yeah.
But I see, like, if I'm going to do that, I am going to do it on the.
Can we just talk about why? This is kind of jumping ahead, but the reason that I'm so underwhelmed by wanting to do that, and I'm still thinking about maybe putting some free play knights in. I do like what they bring, but your your outcast wizard doesn't have countercharge, which means that you can't go demonology with them. And that just kind of ruins the whole thing. Because if you could put a wizard in there with demonology, suddenly, if you're casting demonic vessel to give them the strength AP and attacks, job's a good one. But without that, I'm very underwhelmed.
So, is it that relevant though?
Countercharge,
because the demonic vessel would never help you on a countercharge, because it only lasts your turn.
So you're putting it in for demonic vessel, but then it's giving you then can't play the sort of footsie game with other cavalry.
You're saying he's a liability. He's a liability to be there otherwise. I understand.
Yeah. If he had countercharge, I'd be like, every day of the week, we're going to put this character in. We're going to try some lunch shenanigans. I'm going to see if I can smash people. Because also, Being able to go in a lance formation with demonology is very strong because you are in base to base with everyone. So you can just go like, oh, well, all of my models are in base to base with your BSB. So please take 27 attacks. Slight exaggeration. Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, so that bums me out, and that's the reason that I'm not super happy to go with the full knight.
Yeah, I get that. It makes sense to me. Yeah.
Cool. I think he's better than the prince. The BSB, the Griffin banner, the, as Owen points out, Witch Hunter Sword, Ring of Tal, just like, you know, all of these things are incredible.
I'm taking him in every list.
Yeah.
I'm taking the Griffin banner in every list. It does. So one thing I will say is it does kind of, it sucks a little. Like it doesn't suck right now because it's new and novel and like you've got all these new things.
Yeah.
But like it's kind of lame that like that's the one thing that you do, right? I wish there's a bit more things you could do, but yeah.
Sure. Yeah. If only they had a slightly better than crap stat line, even if it was like still like Empire weapon skill, but they had 3 attacks and 4 attacks instead of 2 and 3. At that point, suddenly I'm like, oh, you know, if I'm paying 45 points base for this, maybe I do just juice up my lance of Bretonnians with a couple of models in there that have got 3 attacks instead of 1. Maybe that's something that I look at, but alas, tis not to be. And that takes us on to the Outcast Wizard, which is the best thing that you can bring in not just Bretonnian Exiles, slight exaggeration, but also Renegade Crowns. All right, definitely Renegade Crowns. I think it's the best thing you can bring. And I'll stand firm on that. I'll get your opinion on that in a second. So this is the Bretonnian Exile-specific wizard, has now been ported over to Renegade Crowns. It is cheap. It is cheap. It's 45 points. It is 105 points if you make it a level 3. First downside, it only goes to level 3. So you can have 3 of them, but only 2 of them can be level 3. One of them has to be level 2 or level 1. And that sucks, and I hate that a lot. So, you know, just getting that out there, very unhappy about that. But everything else it has is great. It has a great number of laws. When it miscasts, it rolls 3d6 and drops the highest. Great. I don't want to have to stop casting. I'd rather blow myself up. You know, that doesn't matter to me. I'll just put him on the edges of units and be less likely to kill myself. Just love this. 2 wounds is like you're paying for what you get, but 2 wounds feels a little rough. They are frail, we'll say.
Yes.
Yeah, but they come with a fast cap horse, as you've pointed out. Not that, you know, I'm going to be putting my hireling outriders in skirmish anyway, so I don't care, but it's the correct type of horse to go in, so all good stuff there. Both regular cavalry. How do you feel about this?
I love the Outcast Wizard.
Yeah.
He's better in this army list than he is in Bretonnia.
Yeah.
The level 3, you know, limit compared to pre to 1.5 is now no longer really that big of a deal.
Yeah.
Right? Because like most of the time you're just the same as level 4, and then you have one less spell, but whatever, right?
There's not 4 good spells in any lore. Like,
yeah, pretty much. Like most lores are like 3.
Yeah.
And if you really want a spell, you take Lore Familiar. He doesn't have a unique lore, so there's no downside to it, right? So Lore Familiar is kind of obvious. The Noble Outcast upgrade plays incredible on this guy.
Yeah.
As I said before, you get the gun, you get the Bliss skill, you get the leader. The leadership is good.
Yeah.
Because his leadership 8 in the Outriders, and they get immune to panic, which can help too. So, the one thing I'll say is, based on what you said, is like you're not putting this guy into skirmishing. You're not putting him in Outriders.
No, sorry. I must have communicated that poorly. He is going in skirmish. He is going in the Outriders. Or at least 2 of them. The third one's going in with my foot unit, but the 2 of them are definitely doing that.
Yeah, for sure. Like that's like an auto include. I think is the joining those guys to get the reserve move.
I did wonder what I said wrong, because you definitely pulled a face of like.
I was like, you got some crazy tech that I'm not aware of. So here's a thing that I've considered, and I'm not really sure how people play this. I assume no one plays it like strictly like this, but the match play guide does say it's like 0 to 1 level 4 wizard, and then 0 to 1 level 3 wizard. Does anyone play that you can't have 2 level 3 wizards?
It's 0 to 1 level 3 per 1,000 points, so you could have 2 at 2,000.
Oh no, because so you guys are playing it that level 4 does not enable you to take another level 3.
Yeah, unfortunately,
that's how you guys are playing it.
It's written clearly, as much as I'd like it to be the other way around.
It is what it is. Yeah. It's kind of dumb, but so be it. Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's like a bit outdated as well. Like, do we need that restriction anymore? Like in the old Magic system, yeah, but like, is anybody like? There's a couple armies that would be like, yeah, probably I'll take 3,
Yeah.
but like, do we need that anymore? I don't know.
I don't mind it. It is what it is. It doesn't feel like it really hinders too much.
It hinders us. It hinders us right now because I would love to have like 3 level 3s or whatever in my army.
But we've got to be rational and reasonable about this. I've just seen Val's here. Good to see you, Val. Says the old world brain trust all on one show. You know, it'd be really funny. Shh, nobody else listen. This is just for Shane. We should trick him. We should train him wrong as a joke. We should tell him that the Bone Grinder is really good. So we're just going to skip ahead and Bone Crusher. Sorry, one of the best units in the book, right? You agree with me, Shane?
You know what? I had a conversation with Simon already on this one.
Yeah.
Bone Grinder's awesome. He convinced me. It's true.
Hell
true.
yeah.
I love
Hell
Bone
yeah.
Grinder now.
We're just going to leave it there. In fact, I'm going to put it to the top of the list for now. The Bone Grinder is good. See, we agree with you entirely, and this can be clipped and taken out of context. Much better than the thing that I said earlier that could be clipped and taken out of context.
Oh, yeah. Don't, get it up where it belongs.
Yeah.
In fact, I think we need a new tier.
Yeah.
This might be the goat. This might be the goat. Yeah.
Oh no! Everyone's coming out the woodwork. Amy's here. Love the goat Bone Grinder. Running one for F&G. I did forget that there are actual genuine bone grinder.
This
enjoyers.
is the Bone Grinder Mafia chat. Yeah,
absolutely,
buddy.
Absolutely. Yeah. Where we're at, I think we were just singing the praises of the Outcast Wizard. Amazing.
Outcast is incredible.
Yeah. I think below Noble Outlaw, above everything else in the tier. That's where I've put it, and that's kind of splitting hairs a little bit.
I mean, my Outcast Wizards probably are the Noble Outlaw, so like it's tough to say. Tough to separate them, but
it feels better to have models ahead of rules. So let's put Outcast Wizard then Noble Outlaw. I think that makes sense.
This guy's great. The one thing I'll say as well, the miscasting used to be just pretty much all upside, like you said.
Yeah.
But now since it only stops him from casting.
Yeah.
I think I actually now kind of don't like it as much as I used to. I used to think it was all great because I was like, yeah, I don't care, some peasants die.
Yeah.
But now I'm like, well, I kind of like don't want my peasants to die that much, especially if he's in like expensive sellsword guys, right, instead of whatever.
Yeah.
And I would rather just him be done casting, but it is what it is.
Yeah, but remember, there's the two. Only one of them changed on the miscast table. So one of them is always all casting stops. And
yeah,
one of them
the
is...
irresistible. Yeah, the irresistible one still is your spells are done, but the 8 through 10 one is now just he is done, right?
So I've only ever rolled in 1.5 when I have multiple wizards. I've only ever rolled the one that stops me from casting with my
11, 12.
Yeah. 10, 11, 12. So it's actually more common than you think. It's a 1 in 6.
Is it really?
Yeah. 10,
okay.
11, 12.
There you go.
Is it definitely that one, or is it the 8? No, yeah, we're getting in the weeds. Both of them are roughly equal between the three of them, so it's whatever. They're both more common than you want. And that takes us to the end of the characters. And it feels a little bit wrong to put all of the characters into S tier, but we're going to leave them there for now, and maybe we come back and adjust. Or I adjust it without saying anything out loud, because you can't see my screen. Both of these are viable options.
I mean, it's kind of all we got, right? Like, there's not really much else to say on the character side of things.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're taking them all.
We're gonna move over to the infantry, and we've got the sellswords and the veteran sellswords. So what we'll do? Have you got a preference for which of these that you'd rather talk about?
Probably the basic ones.
Cool. Well, that works out nicely because I've got them frontier on the tier list. So I'll just very quickly give an overview. These are basically Empire state troops and veteran state troops, but they have 1 million upgrades. When the Arcane Journal was leaked, I think the next day I had a video out specifically talking about these two units because I was like, oh, you can do so many things, and I was just in love. It's unbelievable how much stuff you can do. They're super cheap. 4 points for the base ones, 5 points for the veterans. They're coming in with a human stat line, 3s across the board for the regular, 4 on weapon skill for the veterans. You're getting, you can have thrusting spears, halberds, great weapons, crossbows, handguns. So this is just every infantry unit thrown into one. You start with light armor. You can upgrade for 2 points per model for heavy armor. You can take shields for 1 point. You can upgrade the veteran sellswords when we get to them to full plate. You can have magic standards on the veterans. You can have, magic items on the veterans as well. What do you think of the regular sellswords? Walk me through the 76 options we have.
Yeah, so the first thing I should say is for match play guide players, it's kind of annoying that you can only have 4 of these because I would love to take like several units of the crossbows, several units of the other stuff. So them all being combined in one profile is kind of annoying for the sweeping blanket comp rules that everyone seems to enjoy. But so be it. So yeah, talking about the different options. Some of these you're probably not going to use much other than for aesthetics. I know, like me personally, I'm a spear guy. I love halberds. I love pikes. Pikes are not in this book yet. But I'm loath to pay the point for spears or halberds because the parry bonus is that good, and I find that giving that up is usually not worth an extra row of human attacks, right? Or like in the case of the halberds, an extra strength in AP and sometimes two AP.
I, just very quickly, to make the case for halberds, I think
Yeah,
I could be convinced to take halberds over great weapons if we're doing the sort of Steed of Shadows flying around unit, because you're 1 strength less, but between the charge bonus that you're going to be fishing for on the Demonology turn anyway, because you're probably using hand weapon shields when you get charged, win on combat res, they fall back in good order, you restrain, then you charge. That's how I envision them being used anyway. Having the initiative and still being, the same AP, 1 less strength, I can maybe say that being a use case for them. Not to say I don't think great weapons are better, but I could at least give them a
yeah.
play.
What I would say to that is like if that's the kind of thing you want to do, I think the great weapons are just better. Sadly, because again, that's GW just has a blind spot for great weapons. They just love them to death, and they always are the best thing. Um, So in that specific instance, yeah, you're gonna try and fall back in good order and then charge somebody. It will require some setup because you're only going back at most 6 inches, and most units are gonna be able to get you. So like unless you have a unit to flee through, it's gonna
Oh
be
no,
tough.
I was planning on winning combat on combat res, and they flee.
Oh, they're falling back in good
Hell
order
yeah.
when they charge you. When
I
they
ain't
charge
planning
you.
to lose, buddy. I'm a winner.
Okay, never mind. Your league's ahead of me then. Okay.
Have you considered just
maybe on the
winning your game,
veterans.
Shane? Like, have you thought about just going in and be like, you know what, I'd like to win this?
You know what? I never thought of it. I'm sorry. I'll try that next time. But like that strat, when we're talking that, I think
Yeah.
that's more of a veteran thing to do because I
Yes,
think
yeah, I
your
agree.
your cell swords are going to be probably so like the most common thing you're probably going to see is 10, 12 guys with crossbows. If you want handguns instead, 10, 12 guys with handguns. You might see a couple like detachment units that have like great weapons or
Mm,
whatever. So the heavy armor upgrade seems very good. The shield upgrade is obviously very good. So I think a lot of the time I'm going to be taking those on most of these units, even the crossbow guys, because
oh yeah.
a 3+ armor save in combat for your random crossbow unit suddenly makes it's not trivial to just kill that, right? So and then in addition to that, you get to use the special rules that your parent unit has. So if you've got your Might of Maragliano stubborn guy in there, he spreads the stubborn to those, which is really good, right? He can spread the leadership from there, even if he's not within 12.
Yeah.
The unit's leadership will spread to them as well. So that's incredible. Yeah, these guys are great. I would say you're definitely gonna be taking these in every list just because this is kind of the or maybe I mean you could definitely make an all cav army, but these guys are pointed to an extent where like they're worth taking.
Hmm.
They're not quite as good as the Yeoman Guard. The Yeoman Guard have a couple edges over them,
Sure.
but I do love the stat line of Horde, Warband, detachments, and then all the options are nice. So yeah, like I love these guys. The Yeah, that's pretty much all I say about the basic dudes. Yeah.
And where
So.
do you want to put them? What was your ranking?
um, like they're not like the best thing ever, and I'm not taking them in literally every army I would ever build. So
Yeah.
probably like an A.
Yeah, I agree. When you said you take them all the time, I was like, but veteran sellswords exist, and for me, that's the one that I'd be taking more often. But
Yeah. Even then, you can only take 2 units of those, right? So if
the
you can like per thousand, right?
sure, sure. The range unit is where I think this really shines. So like if I ever want to run any melee unit of sellswords, veteran. If I want to do
Yeah, it's worth
anything
it.
with a ranged weapon, yeah, I don't need that full plate. I don't need the weapon skill. I just want to go, one of the two ranged weapons. I don't actually have a preference between the two because this is a unit that wants to be a little bit deeper in my deployment zone, I think. So the crossbow does get an edge there, but then handguns are just good. I think if they were the same points, I'd be taking handguns every time, but that 1 point per model less has me feeling like maybe I play around with the crossbows. I like the concept, and this is maybe a little bit more juice than we need to put into them. 17 models, very specifically 17, with the flanks upgrade so that they are heavy infantry. We're putting them on
Phalanx
a hill in 2 ranks of 8, so 8 and I guess 9 and 8. Sorry, I
9.
should say.
Okay.
You're doing your thing. You're shooting in 2 ranks. You're having a great time. Someone comes forward to threaten you. You reform into four, 4 wide with 3 ranks and 1 model behind. Whatever, the dragon charges you. You do 3 wounds with stand and shoot because that's mathematically correct. Don't do the maths. Just trust me, bro. But then with your rank bonus and everything else on there, you just like, hey, this is an incredible unit. Even without the pretend stand and shoot value that you're getting there, with your 1 rank of 4 shots, I think that's just a way to own a hill forever.
Yeah, these guys are a bargain. I think I feel opposite. I think if the crossbow and the hanger were the same points, I would probably still take the crossbow because I really like the range and I really like specifically just more often you're in short range, right?
Sure.
But yeah,
True,
like
actually.
you can't really go wrong with the handguns either. They're fine. But yeah, everything you said is right. I love that. I love the idea of like a little annoying unit that is like just slightly too tough to kill for your
Yeah.
opponent. It's like a little bit annoying. That's a great thing to have. Yeah.
I love that way. Whatever you've got holding like a strategic location or just off to the side where your opponent's like, I mean, I can't send those 6 Marauder Horsemen with flail because they're just going to lose. So I'm going to send a real unit. I really don't want to send a real unit because I need that for the middle of the board. That is a nice design space that I like for these. Moving on to the Veteran Sellswords, which is the same but +1 weapon skill, but then also they get the rule Veteran. Which is amazing. And I think that's the only additional rule that they get on there. Yes, it's just formatted weirdly. But then they can also take full plate. This is how to take... Oh, they can also buy drilled if they want to, but you're starting to get really pricey at that point. This is how you can have
too.
Empire
Magic
Greatswords. Magic Banner's very good. It's a shame they can't take any army ones. So you're like, oh, I guess I'll take War Banner. I won't be
then
upset to take it, but...
You would just take the Griffin Banner on this unit if you didn't like if you're able to just take the Empire.
100%, yeah. Yeah. Very versatile. You can still just go heavy armor shield and keep it relatively cheap. You can give it all of the upgrades. You can go great weapons, full plate shields. You get charged. You give it Seed of Shadows and the Outcast Wizard who's going to cast all the spells. You park it 1 inch away from your opponent. You say, you can charge me, but I'm just going to tank you with my 3-up save and then loads of combat res, etc., etc. I'm going to win on combat res. You then fall back in good order away from me. I charge you with my great weapons. Suddenly, baby, we got a stew cooking. It's like parking a dragon in front of your opponent, but this is 1.5. So instead of a dragon that loses on combat res, you've got a unit that loses on wounds but wins on combat res. And I just think that's kind of beautiful.
Yeah, like I really like the veterans too, man. So the phalanx rule plays really well with these guys for obvious reasons. And then furthermore, drilled and phalanx are best friends because they allow you to kind of do that what you just said a lot more often.
Yeah.
Especially if you're trying to do Seed of Shadows, being able to you're 3 wide, you go 1,000,000, and then you're able to go wider. They're great. I don't know how often I'm going to be taking the full plate. The full plate is quite expensive,
Sure.
and because it doesn't play with the shields, because you don't get the parry bonus.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a bummer. The Magic Standard is just going to be the War Banner, right? But like that's still a good item. Being able to take 25 points of items on the champ is nice too. Like you can still take your Charm Shield, you can take your Lodestone, whatever you like. Use these guys a lot. One thing that I think is kind of missing from this army is the ability to just take like more units of these in like special or something, because you are limited to just 1 per 1,000. You can never have multiples of these guys, so that's kind of a shame. And then depending on your comp, they share the same like 0 to 4 as the sellswords. So you're kind of crammed on like how many of these you can use depending on who you're playing with. But yeah, the veteran sellswords are great. Yeah, the combat res brick is a great idea. The kind of obvious big weakness of it is that when you're in a phalanx, you're really narrow and your flank is gigantic. And if you're doing Steed of Shadow stuff, you're like zooming up the board. It's going to be tough to keep the flanks clean because all it's going to take is like 1 random unit of unit strength 10 stuff and then goodbye rank bonus, right? So, yeah, it's tough. But I love these guys. Yeah, this first of all, the versatility of them, like all the different items you can take. I do wish you could take melee weapons and guns
Yeah,
because that is such a power fantasy people. They want their unit that has guns and great weapons and stuff.
sure.
Um, and then the versatility, there is a lot of options, and like some of those really sweet old Dogs of War minis, like you got your besiegers with the Pavis shields and the crossbows. You can build that unit with these rules. You can do like a vague approximation of some of the pikemen if you take spears, but like we'll talk about that some other day. So yeah, like this is a flavor win and just a great unit. It's like solid. So yeah, so I rate these pretty highly. I'm taking these in almost every army, but again, if you want to do all cav, you're probably leaving these on the bench.
Yeah. I don't necessarily think all cav is a list that has play. I think you want some level of infantry. For me, these are like just better than the sellsword infantry. So I think for me they sneak into S, whereas the sellswords would sit in A, in my opinion. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'm fine with it. One other like glaring flavor fail on this is
Yeah.
that this unit called Sellsword Infantry is not a Dog of War. How is this unit not a mercenary for Empire and stuff? Like
No. That would be terrible because suddenly it would be played all of the time. Wait, hold on, that's good. No, hold on. This is objectively good. New rules being used. Okay. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm back on board. I was like, no, every
Yeah.
army's going to use it. Wait. But
Great.
they're cool. I don't know. Might homogenize them too much. But then there'd be mercenaries. Yeah,
They're not
I
poor.
think
They're not poor.
yeah, I think if they were Dogs of War, they'd be interesting. I'd play
Yeah.
around with something like that.
Yeah, if I don't know, it jumped out at me when I noticed that. I was like, oh really? They're not Dogs of War. Okay. Anyway.
Yeah, that is an odd one. So that takes us on to the next best unit in the book, and I'm a little gutted. It's your turn to talk about the unit, so you get to talk about Free Company Militia.
Oh my goodness. Do you want me to read their stats for you too?
No, no.
They are like when you can take the sellsword guys in the same army, like there's not a lot of reason to take them because these guys, like the benefit of them in the Empire army was that they had Horde, and now that's kind of overtaken by the Empire soldiers having Horde and Warband, and or not, the Empire soldiers don't have Warband, but ours do. The sellswords do. They're kind of just worse in every way than the sellsword guys. They do have two-hand weapons and throwing weapons, but they're missing a lot of the other juice.
Like shields.
Yeah, there's all kinds of reasons why.
Yeah.
The Free Company are levies, which has some upside to it, but is often a downside, especially when they started only leadership 7. They have Impetuous, which is a downside.
Yeah.
I don't see myself taking these very often. They're kind of just like a whatever unit. Like I don't think it's a disaster if you take a unit of these. Like these might be your pet unit if you really want to have your peasants with pitchforks and stuff in your army. It's not going to like ruin your army to have them, but they are just kind of worse than the sellsword. So like probably C or F, right?
Yeah. I'm gonna go one further than you. Not only will I never put them in, I would resent having them if I had to take them for any reason. They're going straight in F tier for me. I hate militia. They are one of the few units in the game that I actively dislike, alongside all giants.
When they decided to give basic Empire soldiers Horde, they really should have considered doing something with these guys because like they're like, what's the point of these now, right? So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even in the base Empire book, I'm like, I don't even really see an angle that I want to take these in.
Well, it was that they were the unit that had 3 ranks, so you could give the Griffin banner +6. That was the reason. But now there's no reason to do that, right? So,
yes. Although the amount of combat res they gave up by dying, I guess, was also a slight limiting factor.
Yeah.
However, we have got a good unit from Empire, and this is Empire Archers. They're 7 points per model, human stat line, yada yada. But they come with loads of good rules. They come with move through cover. Amazing. Love it. I'll take 10. Open order? Sure, whatever. Skirmish? Great. Yes. Vanguard? Love that. This unit is amazing. Am I putting it in on my list? No, because the options that we have already in core are so good. But like, I'm super jazzed to have this as an option. You can just do things with them. You can pay a point to give them Fire and Flee or Scouts. It's not capped 0 to 1 per 1,000 points. If you want to go 4 units of Scouting Empire Archers, you can do that. That is actually something that might be worth doing. Something that I don't see people doing in Old World is like trapping their opponents in their deployment zone. This is something that you can do that with. You're giving up the +1 to go first, so I acknowledge that you're less likely to get that +1. But you can just deploy a distance away from them. Make sure you don't get charged. If you get that +1 to go first, march forwards, and your opponents may be charging in some uncomfortable directions when you maneuver with the skirmishers, so they have to charge in a certain angle.
Yeah.
I've just given them a glowing. I've given them a glowing review. Top of B.
All right. Well, I mean, I'm a downer compared to you and these guys.
Yeah.
They're like okay.
Yeah.
Like they're fine. They're a bit expensive for what you're getting. Especially if you're loading them up with Fire and Flee or Scouts. I don't think I would ever really use Fire and Flee because, like, do you really need the, 5 to 10 bow shots on your little unit before they die? Probably not. Scouts is interesting, but this is an army where I think going first is going to be really important because you're a shooting army, right? So, I think that's kind of a no-go for me. I don't think I would consider scouting them. I might buy it on my list and then not do it. Unless I'm playing it also has scouts. Yeah, that, and also if they also have scouts, maybe I'll do it. Or if they're playing Bretonia or if they're playing Wolves of the Sea, where they get around the normal rolling to go first kind of stuff. It is what it is. These guys do the normal skirmisher shenanigans. They're there to get in the way. They're there to march block stuff. Maybe pop a few cheeky shots at something at some point in the game. They're more expensive than a lot of the other armies' options for doing the same thing. And because we have so many units, like if you're really focused on doing strategic locations and filling up table quarters for domination, there's other units in this army that kind of do that cheaper and probably with more effect. I'm probably not going to use these guys very much. I'd probably have them in C. I don't think they're not a catastrophe. It's just like a whatever unit. Yeah.
Sure. Well, to boost the mood, it's your turn again. And moving on, we've got the Hireling Outriders. So let me just very quickly walk through what this unit does, because it is many, many things. For 11 points per model, you are naked and you have nothing. And that's fine, because you come with fast cavalry, fire and flee, skirmishers, swift stride, and then open order as well. You can buy one of 4 weapons, but you can't double up. And this is where I really would like to double up. On the infantry, I'm like, I don't really care. Here, I'd love to have cavalry spears and also the pistols. So you can have one of the following: cav spears, short bows, pistols, bracer pistols. Bracer pistols, 6 points per model, starting to get a little bit pricey there. You're allowed to give them armor, 1 point per model for light armor, 3 points per model for heavy armor. You can give them shields at 1 point per model. And then you've got full command, and 0 to 1 unit per 1,000 points may have feigned flight, 2 points per model, vanguard for 1 point per model, reserve move for 1 point per model, and also purchase a magic standard worth up to 50 points, which again, only going to be the core ones. So really, it's probably you're looking at the what's the one that gives you armor bane too?
Razor standard.
Razor standard. That's like the main one that I can see as like
maybe rampaging better. Rampaging better, possibly, to reroll the charge.
I don't know that I'm taking this unit with the plan of charging. I will charge with it, but I'm not taking it for that purpose.
I'm just saying those are the ones you might consider. Not in the war banner. Yeah.
So, preach. Tell us why these are good or terrible.
So I'm a big Mounted Yeoman fan, especially with Bretonian Exiles, where they're core.
Hell yeah.
Which makes them even better. These guys, these are a side grade to the Mounted Yeoman, and like I really love the Mounted Yeoman, so that even if these guys end up being a little bit worse or a little more pricey than them, I'm probably sold on them anyway.
Yeah.
Not being able to double up on the spear and the short bow is a downer, and then as well the pistol. I don't know how sold I am on the pistols. They are very expensive for the brace of pistols. Like looking at them compared to some of the other light cav options, I don't know if the firepower is really there. They're only ballistic skill 3, so like they're gonna be hitting on 6s against a lot of stuff, right? So it's not really gonna do a ton of damage, and it is pricey. Like it's you're looking at like 3 or 4 more points than a Empire Road Warden. I was saying the Road Wardens have BS4 and they're not impetuous like these guys, or like similar to these guys are not impetuous. Sure. That said, the cheapo, I have short bows, maybe light armor, maybe shields, fine unit. I'm definitely going to be taking 2 of these units with reserve move, like on almost every list.
Hell yeah.
The equipment almost doesn't matter that much.
Yeah.
But it is fairly cheap. Like if like heavy armor shield for a 4+ is not bad. Like that's actually a decent amount of survivability. So like your random arrow shots and like even like a fireball is not going to wipe the unit, right? So I'm probably going to be taking heavy armor shield on almost every unit, and I'm taking 100% 2 units in 2,000 points with reserve move because for other reasons, mostly to give my outcast wizard reserve move basically because
Yeah.
not the entire unit needs that rule to use it. I don't think I'm ever going to give them a banner because this unit is not really there for that. You could run them as just cheapo cavalry spears guys, especially they have ambush from the noble outlaw. That's what I was saying before. That's not bad. It's similar to Wolves of the Sea has that going on with the Marauder horse. It's kind of annoying for your opponent to have to deal with a bunch of random skirmishing horse guys in the backfield. They can go hunt down war machines and stuff.
Yeah.
They're good for baggage trains. Yeah, I love these guys. Yeah, these guys they're in every single one of my armies, so I think they're S. They're not as cool as the veteran cell swords. They're not as cool as like some of the characters. So like I could see A.
No, no.
Uh,
We're in
but
agreement. It's
yeah,
S. Like, let's not even entertain that these are not an ST unit. When I saw this, I was so excited. I was like, oh my god, I
yeah,
can play humans and I can do elf bullshit. This is the best day of my life for the last week. Incredible.
yeah,
I was so happy. As you point out, they're basically just yeoman, mounted yeoman, but gooder because they have options. Yes, they lose the short bow and the spears, which does suck.
no,
As a fast cav enjoyer, those cavalry spears will do more than your range. Like, you'll shoot them for 3 games, whether it's Dark Riders, whether it's Mounted Yeomen, whatever. You'll shoot them for 3 games, and you'll kill like 6 models, and then you'll charge once in the 4th game, and you'll win a combat and get more points from them that way. But that's not why they're there. That's not why the equipment's sort of there or important. So I'm not super bothered about losing the potentially the, as you point out, the range weapon. Maybe you just take them with the cav spears so you don't take 5 bad shortbow shots or whatever. I like that 3rd unit with ambush, as you were just pointing out. It's something I hadn't considered. Keep them cheap.
yeah.
Come in cav spears, heavy armor shield, come in the back line with ambush.
If you want, yeah,
Yeah. I want to make you deploy so that you're trying to protect your baggage train, because whatever you spread out to cover that space is going to be way more points than the 5 models that I've put into my list specifically to make you play differently. So yeah, that's really nice. Go ahead.
I will say the mounted yeomen do have a couple things over these guys.
Yeah.
Like I was saying before. So mounted yeomen, all of them have reserve move. They're going to be a bit cheaper.
True.
The mounted yeoman with light armor, shield, spear, and bow is 16 points, which is cheaper than most of the loadouts we're talking about here. And then the other thing is they have the peasantry role, so that the banner is not a downside. The banner is all good, right? And then they get to use it. Kind of is a workaround to the levies role, which means they can take the leadership of a nearby knight.
Yeah.
So it's a give and a take. They're similar enough that it's not a huge difference, and like I like both of these units anyways. So that's all I would say. Yeah.
No, that's super fair. That's super fair. I love everything on here. All of my lists I've written have 2 units. Now that you've pointed out that you can ambush the 3rd unit, I'm probably just putting 3 units in all of my lists.
Yeah.
I'm like, this is incredible. Why don't I just have 3 of these? Yes, my 3rd unit, my 3rd son is less good, but he's still pretty okay.
Well, that's just another reason why Noble Outlaw is insane, because that Noble Outlaw gives you that, right? So yeah,
absolutely. So now we get to go from the dizzying heights of one of the best units in the game. They don't necessarily kill a lot. No. I'm gonna brush over that before you get a chance to argue with me. One of the best units in the game. And we're gonna move on to the Freeblade Knights and the Veteran Freeblades. Now, Freeblade Knights you can take in core. This is the last core unit we have available, and these are Empire Knights, but without all of the things that make Empire Knights interesting and good, which kind of sucks. So that's a shame. And then the veteran Freeblades are basically Inner Circle Knights, but again, without all of the extra juice on there. I thought that the Infernal, God, my brain's just turned off. I think I've lost the ability to talk this evening. I think I thought the top tier Empire Cavalry had 2 attacks, which I was corrected on relatively recently, and I was like, oh, these are even worse than I remembered. Inner Circle Knights, there we go. But yeah, so they're move 8 cavalry, and they have just nothing. I mean, they've got counter charge, first charge, swift stride. Those rules are all fine, but it doesn't come with any actual juice. You have to pay for the lances, which I really resent, and the shields as well. you're 18 points per model, but you're actually 20 points per model by the time you do anything with it, and then you can go full command. You've got to pay an extra 3 points to give them Barded War Horses, so you're up to 23 points per model just for a normal Empire Knight that doesn't have access to any of the knightly orders. Ugh. What do you think of these ones? I think for me, they're like C tier.
I mean, I'm probably going to be taking this in my armies just because it's like what you have access to. It's
Sure.
just like the unit you can take. It is worse than an Empire Knight. It's like if you take the same loadout as a normal Empire Knight, it's going to be a point more,
Yeah.
and you don't get anything for that, right? So, it's kind of just worse. The big glaring omission compared to an Empire Knight and some of the other options is there's no drilled, which means the utility of these guys is way down compared to even just basic Empire Knights, right? So,
Yep.
and especially for the veteran Freeblades, not having access to drilled is a big downer. That said, again, like I probably want just a unit of cav. There's not a lot of stuff in this army that just goes and kills guys, so this might just be your unit that goes and kills people.
I'm not sure
right?
that this unit does it though. Like,
no, but literally, like everything else in your army is going to be like a bunch of strength 3 attacks in melee for the most part. Like you might have a couple guys with great weapons in your infantry units and stuff, but
yeah,
this is it for going fast, hitting hard, right? There's no characters that go fast, hit hard, right?
well, so my point is, I agree that is a flaw with the list for me, and that's why I like the great sword unit that Steed of Shadows around. So I have one unit that actually has some oomph. I just don't think this unit has oomph. I think it's a real case of rubber lance. You're gonna have 1 attack each.
Oh yeah.
With if you hit, good luck. Hit on 4s, wound on probably 3s with your strength 5 AP2 lances. I'm just worried that I'm putting a lot of points into something that doesn't actually do much.
Oh, I agree with you. I agree with you certainly. Yeah, like counting on these things to actually kill stuff is not a great idea.
Yeah.
But I'm saying if that's a thing you want in your army,
sure.
This is the option you're going to take, right?
This is the option, yeah.
Empire Knights, they're like fine. They're like a decent item, right? Yeah. Even without drilled, even without some of the other bells and whistles that Empire Knights have, these guys are fine. They're not a disaster. Like having a unit that's in your army as your pet unit, as you said, is not going to sink you. And like I think it's I could see taking 2 units. I could see taking a unit in Lance formation if that's what you fancy and you really want to do some Brett Exile role play or whatever, right? We're just talking about the normal ones right now, right? Yeah. So that's pretty much the normal ones. Yeah.
Matthew in chat points out they've got Silver Helm syndrome. They are just Silver Helms. That's what they are. I hadn't even realized.
They do have countercharge.
Oh,
so
yeah, sure.
That's
true. That is true. But yeah, so I think C. You could maybe argue B, but I don't know that either of us are making a particularly strong case for them.
So I think C is fine.
Yeah, they can languish down there. You sounded a little bit more keen on the veteran Freeblades. You got any wares to sell me on this one? Any snake oil here?
No.
No? All right.
No.
I think my opinion is they're worse than the regular Freeblades because they're not core. So
yeah, it's like in this army where you already have a bunch of sick core units. It's sure. less of a crime to not be core because you've already got your bunch of Outriders and your sellswords to go and do your objective obsessing, right? If that's what you really want to do with yourself. If you load them up, they're gonna be like Empire Inner Circle Knights without their rule that lets them reroll. They're gonna be, I think, the same point cost or maybe 1 point less. I don't remember. But like similar point cost, but without the bonuses that the Inner Circle guys get. Again, no drilled is huge. The Magic Banner is not that exciting. Like we said before, the Rampaging Banner, Razor Standard, War Banner. Yep. Those are pretty much your options here. That said, though, again, I don't think these are a complete disaster. Like if you have this in your army, it's not going to ruin your army. So sure. you're not paying a big opportunity cost to take these. So it is what it is. They're just kind of a mediocre unit.
Yeah, they don't make it to F tier for me, but I'm underwhelmed. The one thing that I like about them, and the one thing that they have over the Empire Knights, is the ability to go into a lance and actually put all of those attacks into a narrow focus. And I can see that being worth doing.
It works both ways though, because now when you charge into an infantry brick, all of their models are going to be base with you, and it's not just the front row; it's all their fighting ranks.
Sure.
So against infantry dudes that have 2 fighting rows, that can hurt, right? So
yeah, but I think like because you're choosing the fight that you're going for, And there's not really much in the way of infantry with multiple attacks, especially when they're charged. So like, I'm not super worried about that. It is something to consider. Like you
Yeah.
can't charge dragon ogres, for example. Be happy about that, but you couldn't do that anyway, so it doesn't really make
Yeah.
much of a difference. Fantastic. So that takes us to the end of the mounted models there, and next up we've got the Border Prince mortars. Do you remember what a mortar does? I had to look it
Yep.
up, and then I immediately went, "There's a reason I didn't remember this." They're just
Um,
kind of whatever, incredibly whatever, and by whatever I mean kind of bad.
yeah. It's kind of a shame.
Yep.
I think the mortar used to be a really cool item. Um, in 6th and 7th edition Warhammer, like I regularly took like one mortar in my Empire army, and I was like happy to have it most games. For whatever reason, they decided to make it strength 2,
Yeah.
which is what it is. And then the bigger base sizes in Old World really put a hurt on the large blast template stuff, because
Yep.
before it was like the whole unit is hit. Now it's like 2/3 of the unit is hit, but only 1/3 of it is partials. So it's it's tough to find a spot for this one. That said, it's not a complete disaster. It doesn't stop you from taking some of the other stuff. So it is what it is. Like if you're playing against the big Night Goblin army, or you're playing against some Skaven or something, it's not gonna be a complete useless thing. It'll do some damage. Every once in a while you'll get a direct hit and you'll be happy you have it, and you'll kill like 5 or 6 rats or whatever. But
That's the thing, you won't. So the maths on any partials, you'll kill 1 in 9 partials, and then you'll kill 1 in, assuming they've got like light armor shield, so a 5-up save, and then you've got like a 1 in 4.5 for your directs. So I don't even think you get to 5 or 6. I think it's literally like you kill 3 models and then you go, all right. And that was with a direct hit. It's pretty poor, unfortunately. But I agree, it is relatively cheap, and it doesn't stop you from taking the war machines. So I could see bottom of C instead of F tier. I'm not sure that it
yeah,
actively harms you.
it does. It's not a complete disaster. It's just not that interesting. It kind
Yeah.
of just sucks. Yeah. It needs to be buffed basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
Perfect. Well, we didn't have to waste long on that one. Speaking of units, we don't have to waste long on Border Prince Brigands. We can just put them in F and then move on. We're both in agreement there, right?
I mean, since the last time we talked, with the changes to the rules, these
Yeah.
have gotten a bit worse. Do you want to talk about these guys, or do you?
No,
actually want to
I'm
talk about
doing a
these
bit because I know that you enjoyed them more than me.
Oh,
So
yeah,
I'll let you just take the reins fully on this unit.
First of all, it's a flavor home run. This unit
Sure.
has border princes in the name. Like, how am I not taking this, right? So, and I said this when when we did our Bretonia one a long time ago. I'm a big Dogs of War guy. I love
Sure.
the border princes. So like this army in general is my vibe. I love regular humans. These guys are regular humans. Comparing them to some of the other units in this army, these guys are, a little bit lacking compared to the sellswords, because the sellswords have a lot of the spice that they have, but the sellswords are core, right? So it's curious how like they balance the sellswords compared to these guys. That said, this unit you can still do skirmishing ranged troops, which none of the other stuff can do, or like on foot anyway. So that's a reason to take these guys. If you really want to mess around with the Wandering Diestro and you want to do some crazy stuff with -1 to hit or whatever, rerolls to hit or whatever it is,
Just
you can go
to
with that.
very quickly butt in, for 8 points per model before equipment, you too can have Wandering
Yeah.
Diestro buffed brigands that come in from ambush.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. They are a lot of points. The the loadout you're going to see most often with these guys is either skirmish guys with ambush or scout guys with ambush that either have pistols or blunderbuss most of the time. The Desperado can take magic items. So now, if you believe that he's from the Bretonia book and therefore you get to take Bretonia items, you can take some interesting options there. You take whatever you want from that list. If not, he can still take a ruby ring. He can still take
That is true.
so a couple other random things, right? But that's worth considering. The unit champion you're probably going to take anyway, because they're only leadership 6. So the 7th leadership helps a lot. They do have impetuous, so you don't, especially if they have pistols or blunderbuss, you don't want them taking a turn off to go charge something and die.
Yeah.
Motley Crew is nice. It saves you a couple points on buying shields for everybody. You can buy shields for like 7 of your 10 or 6 of your 10, and then have the better armor most of the time anyway.
True.
These guys they're cool. Like they're decent. That said, am I taking them super often? Probably not in this army. I don't really want the scouts in this army because going first is really important. With how people play scouts nowadays, the ambushers have some appeal for the same reason as the ambushing hirelings, because sometimes you just want a unit that's going to mess stuff up in the backfield and kill baggage trains and get in the way and stuff. You can use these kind of like the core archer guys, and like yes, like as we said before, being core is cool, but in this army our core is going to be filled no matter what anyway. We're not looking for units to pay the tax. And like the archers are not really going to be unit strength 10 if your opponent cares about them anyway. They'll just kill them, right? So they're not going to be there for you for taking strategic locations for very long. These guys are like reasonably cheap if you keep them to just pistol or whatever. So yeah, they're fine. Like I have them as like a C.
Yeah, I think that's super reasonable. I could probably have been sold a B, but like I don't really have any strong opinions on them other than I'm not taking them. They don't do anything that I want in my list, but I can see, given the level of customization, that some people are going to value that, which I think is fair enough.
They're also just super cool. Like it's just a super cool unit, and like you can do some cool conversion stuff. They got Motley Crew. You can load them out how you want. I love that stuff. So
yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Doesn't change it on the tier list. Moving on
your tier list.
Yeah, absolutely. Get me on your channel, which is yet to exist, although I have poked you to do it. And you can do the flavor wins tier list, and I'll come in and give you bad takes on flavor wins, because I think I'm maybe not the person to ask on that one. We are then into our last 2 units before we get to the Dogs of War, and these are the War Machines. Now we're going to start off with, let's just start off with the Bombard. We know the Bombard. We both play XLs. Yep. We love the Bombard. Yep. Incredible. For anyone who doesn't know, it's a cannon but gooder. You can't have engineers, so you don't get rerolls, but don't worry. It has built in, if you misfire, 1 in 6 times you explode. That's normal. 2 and 3, you can't shoot this turn, and you lose a wound on your crew. 4 and 5, you can't shoot this turn. On a 6, you can't shoot next turn, but you shoot as if you rolled a 2 on the distance that you rolled on the artillery die. So you never lose 2 turns of shooting to a misfire. There's a 1 in 36 chance of it going poorly.
Well, you do if you roll a 6. Sorry, you lose your deck. You lose a turn of shooting if you roll a 6.
Exactly, yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah. It's great. I don't know why they wrote those rules. I'm not complaining because I've got to play with them. But it's different for no good reason, but it makes it incredible. On top of that, Strength 8, AP 3, Armor Bane 2, D3 plus 1 damage, 48-inch range. That's low-ish, but it's still long enough to do whatever you want.
It's fine.
That's 58 inches when you guess 10 inches before the back of the thing that you want to shoot at. So yeah, incredible. I think this is just a windmill slam into S. Do you disagree?
No, this is the best cannon in the game.
Hell yeah,
like bar none. Bar none. It is the best cannon in the game.
Cathay?
It is. It's better than Cathay on rate. On rate.
Oh, on rate. Yeah.
200 points. 200 points.
Yeah, it's so cheap.
As you said. Yeah. As you said, there's a 1 in 36 chance that you have a horrible result when you shoot your cannon. Yep. When you shoot a Cathay cannon, it's a 1 in 9 chance that you have a horrible result, because a 1, a 2, a 3, and a 4 on the misfire table, you either you're not shooting this turn and next turn. So goodbye to your extra ogre loader shot, right?
Yeah. I was going to say they have the reroll. I think you got
to reroll.
If I could put one of them into any army, I'd take the Cathay cannon, because the turning off Swift Stride and the minus movement is so strong. But like point for point, I 100% agree. Like point for point, I think the Bombards are stronger.
Yeah, pound for pound. Yeah, sure. They can shoot twice once per game, but my guys are going to be shooting 6 turns most of the time. Yours are going to be shooting 4 turns most of the time, right? So I'll take it. I'll take 6 shots on average over 5 shots on average. That's all I'm saying. Yeah.
Right.
Love them.
Yeah. We're both aggressively in agreement that these are.
They have a couple other little sweeteners too. They're toughness 7.
Yeah.
Right. Toughness 7 means no Vile Tide. It means like almost every shooting thing's winning on 6s. They have light armor randomly.
Yeah.
Right. They got leadership 7, which is better than some. Like
it's not bad.
They're not too bad.
Yeah, I think they're levies as well, if I remember correctly.
They are levies. Yeah. So no general's leadership, but
But I mean, usually you wouldn't have your general near them anyway, so that's basically just an upside, in my opinion. because my general's not going to be anywhere near the back of the board, realistically, especially not
Yep.
in this list.
One other hidden little bonus: they are only on a 50/50, which means
Yes.
they're a lot more maneuverable than some of the other cannons that are on like the big bases. So,
Yeah, I agree. Really good stuff straight up there. I think, in fact, they go behind the Outcast Wizard because I think I can get more juice out of the Wizards. But it's like, it's
oh
neck
man,
and
no,
neck.
this is the best unit. Like, if this is one of the best units in the game,
Sure.
and it's also like the Wizard is great. Love the Wizard.
Mhm.
But like in like lots of other armies out there, if I could take a Bombard, I'd be like, hell yeah, sign me up. And then some other armies with Wizards, I'd be like, I've got other stuff going on, right?
Fair enough. All right.
Yeah.
I
Anyway,
don't strongly disagree, so I'll move them up to the spot number 1 for you. All right. That takes us to the other war machine. Now, the key note here is you can have 0 to 1 war machine chosen from the following list per 1,000 points, and then it gives us the organ gun and the bombard. So, unfortunately, because given the glowing review we've both just given of this unit and how, we've put it at number 1 on the tier list for the entire book, the poor organ gun doesn't really get much of a look in, which is a shame. Because if you could take them in special, I'd be taking them. I like what you get from an organ gun.
Yeah,
but it's not a
agreed,
bombard.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, it sucks really bad that this is tied into the bombard because I'm always taking 2 bombards in every army.
Yeah.
If I could take this, I probably would. It seems reasonable. It's not great. Like it's not as good as the Hellblaster. It's not as good as the dwarf ones. Blitz Steel 3 kind of low, but it's reasonably inexpensive and it's got toughness 7, so for the same reasons, it's fine. I as a flavor point, I wish it had the Bombard misfire chart, but I mean, I guess, or something like that. But
yeah,
this one has just the normal misfire chart, so it's gonna blow itself up a bit. Yeah, is what it is. But we'll never see this in any list, though, unfortunately. So I guess F.
I think it should go an F, but I'm going to bend the rules because I don't think it's an F tier unit. It's just because of the unit composition list. So I think if we rate it just based on if you could take it, which is cheating, but I'm going to do it because I like this unit. I think this is a B tier, solidly B tiered pick.
Yeah, like I'm not too sold on it either way. Like there's not a ton that it's competing against in like non-core shooty stuff units. So probably B or C.
Perfect. Well, that takes us to the end of the actual book, and it's pretty top heavy. We've got a lot of stuff that looks pretty good in this. Let's fix that by going to the Dogs of War. And this is where I don't know if our opinions will line up on this, because I'm pretty low opinion on these, but your love of flavor may make you more willing to give them a chance than I have been. Nope. Okay, we're going to agree.
It's missing some stuff. I'll say that much.
Yeah, Amy says she's only here for the Bone Crusher, so what we're going to do is we're going to do that one last, just to make sure that we keep that one extra viewer.
True.
Sorry, Amy. Got to do it for the clicks. If you're here and you haven't already, give the stream a thumbs up. Does help massively. Also, check out TSN events. Link in the description. They do support the channel. If you want to do coaching, there is a link to my Patreon, Close Order Patreon, where I do coaching at 1 hour or 3 hour sessions. And also, you can become a member of the channel if you'd like to. Longbeard tier or above, you can come in the Discord into the VIP section, where most of the time they have nice, sensible discussions, and sometimes they bully me, which is funny. And Amy has renewed for 4 months. Thank you so much, Amy. Appreciate that. Perfect. I've been practicing just by doing the streams, not just.
You got it down.
Yeah, I don't just look at myself in the mirror and do the spiel, but I've just done it enough now that I can rattle through it without taking up too much of everyone else's time. All right, so let's go on to Dogs of War. We got the Ogre Bulls first. These are the Badland Ogre Bulls. It doesn't say Badland on there just because I couldn't fit it in without making it 3 lines of text, and I didn't want to do that. So these are the Orcs and Goblin ones. And there's one of the 2 Ogre units, because there's the Imperial Ogres and there's the Badland Ogres. And there's one of the 2 that I like more, and I can't remember off the top of my head which one it is. So I've just been killing time so I can scroll down in the list here. Are they... Oh, they're in the infantry section. Vesper as well. Thank you so much for resubbing. So we sold on the Outcast Wizard Money Gang with GATs or not? I wasn't here. Yeah, absolutely. All Outcast Wizards get GATs. It is legally you have to do it. Not only because of flavor, but it is genuinely quite good. Once Shane reminded me that get +1 ballistic skill. I'm like, oh yeah, just give him a repeater pistol every day of the week.
Yeah, bust out your Gandalf mini with a Stormbolter. It's time for him to shine. Yeah.
If only it was on a horse. Speaking of outcast wizards, actually, it's really hard to get infantry wizards. Sorry, not infantry wizards. Cavalry
Cavalry
wizards
wizards.
for humans.
Yeah.
So I've got. Oh, it's behind the green screen. I bought a Saruman on horse, and I'm just gonna like head swap and hand swap it. And I was like, oh, this is gonna be a great mounted wizard. So I'm gonna need to find another one or two of those somewhere to work out what the hell I'm doing.
Careful with doing that, because I don't know if this is still the case. Back in the day, at GW tournaments, you just were not allowed to mix.
That's
it was
right.
like forbidden to mix with Lord of the Rings. I've got a couple nice Highland 3D print wizards. They're the same mini, but working on these guys for my army. So yeah.
I have a lot of like third party stuff scattered amongst the mostly Games Workshop plastic I have. So I probably wouldn't be allowed to go to a Games Workshop tournament with any of my armies, but that sucks for them. They're missing out on me, and I'm delightful.
Yep.
So that's their problem. All right, Badland Ogre Bulls is what we're talking about here, and this is the one that I like a little bit more, and that's because I don't rate the ranged weapons of the Imperial Ogres. We'll get to those in a second, but I do like that you can give this unit a 4-up armor save between the heavy armor and the Iron Fist, and I think that's just okay. Is it better than heavy armor and a great weapon? Probably not, but it just gives them a little bit more beef so they can actually hang around a little bit longer. And also, Orcs and Goblins magic banners are very, very good. So being able to take... You're right?
I don't know if we're... Are we so like if we're reading that we're allowed to take Orc and Goblin magic banners, that seems opposite to how you believe about
no. So
okay.
At the start, I agreed that rules as written, your interpretation makes sense, but I just don't think it makes sense in terms of the way that the book is structured. So I don't think that should work.
Fair enough. Yeah. Like I'm with you. I agree.
Yeah. That was my.
The other thing I'll say is,
go ahead.
Go ahead. They are Motley Crew. You don't have to choose. You can get both the Iron Fist and have a couple guys with great weapons to have the extra punch too.
Yeah, amazing. Which is just the best way to do it. So I guess you take 4, 2 with the Iron Fist, 2 with a great weapon. Jobs are good. Full command tier. What are we giving them in terms of banners? Probably the extra charge range one. That feels pretty good. Or we can have weapon skill 4 ogres. Oh, big red raggedy flag. Yeah, I'm immediately sold. Weapon skill 4 ogres, just taking away the biggest issue they have, which is that they always miss.
Yeah, the Wa banner is nice. The Frenzy one is okay. Even the Poison banner is fine. They have a lot of attacks, right? So
yeah, I guess if we're talking going Iron Fists, it does open up a lot more options. I think if I'm going Iron Fists, I'm willing to maybe consider the Razor Standard, because you've got such a high output between that and the impact hit that maybe these 4 attacks per model, 16 plus an impact hit, 20 attacks. You're looking at maybe getting 2 armor bane there if you're hitting on you're hitting on 4s. Yeah, 1 to 2. It's maybe worthwhile. I've already talked myself out of it. The numbers are bad.
Yeah, I'm probably not taking any of them, but I would just those are the ones you might consider. The Rampaging banner is okay too, just for rerolling charge. It can be nice. These guys are all right. I'm an ogre lover. I love ogres.
Sure.
I have an Ogre Kingdom's army. I use in my Dogs of War, my Empire army back in the day. I used to use Merc ogres all the time, so I love these guys. On the board, they're fine. They're like a C.
Yeah, I was going to say, with the options and the banners that are available to them, I could put them to the heady heights of the bottom of B. Or is that too keen? Are you with me on the bottom of B, or is that too much?
It's fine. Yeah, like I don't know how often I would take these over the Freeblade Knights even.
Yeah.
They're like okay. Yeah, like if like I like ogres, so like I'll probably try them out at least in my army. So yeah, maybe B.
Perfect. So I want to push them to the bottom of B, because let's immediately go on to the Imperial Ogres, because I'm less bullish on this unit, and I want there to be like a clear delineation between the two. So
of course.
They are the same unit in terms of stat line and everything else. I don't think there's anything on there that's just like a straight difference across the board, other than their options. So you can go Great Weapon, Morningstar, Light Cannon, Ogre Pistol, which those last two sound appealing until you remember that an Ogre Pistol is just a quick shot handgun, which is fine, but your ballistic skill 3, so kind of whatever. And a Light Cannon is, again, kind of fine. 18-inch range, strength 4, AP1, armor bane 2. You're always going to take move and shoot penalty. You're always going to take a long range penalty, realistically. So you're hitting on 6s. It does D3 hits after that, but I just don't think this actually translates into anything. If it was cheap, I could see him. But at 8 points per model, and then you still got to pay the extra 3 points for the heavy armor, I struggle with them. Also, no command, so no magic banner. You can't even give them the Griffin standard for hilarious reasons.
Yeah. So yeah, no Iron Fist, bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
They also have Morning Stars, which again kind of got nerfed a little bit. Not being able to give them shields is weird. Like, why? Can
Do
we
some of
not
the
have
models
shields,
have
guys?
shields?
I imagine there's a like a ogre model with shield out there somewhere. Like, come on, guys. Um, the ranged weapons, yeah, I agree with you. I've tried it. I love lead belchers, but like I don't use them
Sure.
because like
Yeah.
they're kind of bad.
Yeah.
These even the renegade ones that I helped write were still not very good, and the renegade ones are pretty similar to this thing. The one thing I will say is now that I'm looking at the light cannon stat line, reminds me suspiciously of the dragonfire bombs. The dragonfire bombs do D3+1 hits though, so
Mm,
they got to have something. They do get Armor Bane from the mini as well, so Armor Bane 3.
true.
Woohoo, right?
Or Armor Bane 2 on the
Um,
pistols, which makes them a little bit more appealing.
I guess, yeah.
Yeah.
Every once in a while. Yeah, like these are like marginally worse, but it's your army's theme. And like, are they really that much worse than the other one? Not really. Like they're like a bit worse, but
Yeah.
like only if you're taking the standard and only if you're planning on taking the Iron Fist anyway,
Yeah.
which some people probably won't because they're probably just going to take like their Iron Gut minis and then run them in their army. So it functionally, I think these are like almost the same thing. So like I can't see them being too far apart, but up to you, man.
Yeah, I think purely because the Badland Bulls have reasons that I can see taking them, where it's like, oh, we can do something with the banner. Oh, we can get up to that 4-up armor save. Like, I feel like there's a more of an edge case there. So I think in C tier for the other ones, you could like realistically maybe they both go in C, but I think the Imperial Ogres are definitely worse than the Badland Bulls in terms of having less play to make options there.
I guess if you really want a third unit of Dogs of War Ogres in your army, you take these guys, right? Because you can only have 0 to 2 in your Grand Army, right?
Or a
So
fourth.
yeah, or the fourth one, yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
sure. If you really want the third and fourth, yeah.
If your playgroup doesn't allow legacy armies, but you really,
And you have Ogre
really,
Kingdoms,
really
yeah.
want to play ogres, this is the way
That's
you do
right.
it. I'm not even sure your armor would be noticeably worse than Ogre Kingdoms. So that's a fun little neatness.
Ooh, that's a low blow, my friend. I'm an ogre lover.
I like ogres. I'd love for them to be good. I do not believe in ogres in any respect, unfortunately.
All right.
People keep telling me that ogres are great or like at least like decent, and then I've just yet to see that actually translate into anything. So I'm hoping to be pleasantly surprised at some point when someone runs me over with just like an absolute ruinous ogre army, and then I will.
Well, as someone who's played a game of ogres against Ed and won, just saying, just throwing it out there.
Yeah,
Just throwing it out there.
that does sound correct. I do believe you, but I think that was before I learned how to play well. That might have been on my come up. So you can. It's great actually. So this is a great sidebar. If you are curious as to when I started to get better at the game, you can look at my old world rankings and you can see my trail from going 2-3, 2-1 and a draw. So 2-2 and a draw, and then I think I went the same with Skaven, and then like a 3-2, and then I started to work it out, and I started to fit the 4-1s in there, and it was an up climb from that point. So my claim is that I was playing you at some point in between before the good play. That's how I'm going to salvage my.
Hey man, however you get to sleep tonight, you do what you got to do, man.
Absolutely, absolutely. Maybe we'll have to set up a rematch at some point because I would love to be wrong about ogres.
I'd love to.
Yeah, we'll book something in at some point, not in the next few weeks because I'm doing back to back tournaments, streaming, playing. So that's going to be fun, and I should probably pull my finger out and get some stuff built and painted. But that's fine. Ed says Lewis looks very different today. Yes, you have hair.
That's right. Yeah, I have. I'm blessed to have the good genes. So I don't have the baldness issue. That is what it is, right? So.
Moving on, we've got the Doom Seekers, which is. Have you looked at Doom Seekers much? I know you were saying that when we were talking about them initially, with Slayers, Doom Seekers was maybe the only way to make Slayers work. What do you think about Doom Seekers in this army?
I think it's great. I think I'm going to take one Doom Seeker with no items in almost all of my lists. He's going to sit between my two Border Prince Bombards.
Yeah.
And then hopefully that's where he's going to live the whole game. The idea is, some unit comes to charge your Border Prince Bombard. Hopefully, you flee in such a way that you go through, and then now there's a Doomseeker standing between that unit and your other bombard. That's the idea. And then furthermore, you can move out from between and then threaten some random unit of harpies or dogs that's coming to get you, right?
Sure, sure. For anyone who doesn't know, Doomseekers are a dwarf unit with a million special rules. But including those special rules are if you don't die, you give up victory points, and if you do die, you don't give up victory points. So, hence, if you're using it to protect your backline, keeping it cheap does make a lot of sense. I like that. They charge a little bit faster than normal dwarves. They get an extra D3 on the charge. They have impact hits that use their hand weapon. They've got 2D3 attacks. They've got Grommel weapons. They come in natively at AP1. I think they're strength 5 base as well. They're like a weird inverse dwarf with a higher strength than toughness. I think
impact hits too.
Impact hits as well. Yeah, with the hand weapon. Are they the only dwarf in the game that is strength 5? I think they might be.
I
Because
think
the
the
dwarf
Chaos
kings.
Dwarf hero. The Chaos Dwarf hero, I think is, or the Lord, I think is.
Yeah. But like, so real dwarves, none of those chaos munching fools. We all know that if you worship a chaos god, like any of the ones in the chaos books or the Lady of the Lake, you get +1 to your strength. This is just a known fact about how it works if you're a worshipper of the unclean.
Maybe the Slayer guy, the Slayer special character.
Oh, maybe. I think he's strength 4.
No, he's 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just 4.
So this is the only non-chaos dwarf with strength 4 in the game, and also the only dwarf with higher strength and toughness. I think I'm comfortable saying that across all of Old World. Yeah, which is weird, but fun. But yeah, million special rules, little whirlwind of death. I want to upgrade them, so I like giving them the +1 attack tattoo. The downside of giving them upgrades to their weapons is Gromrel weapon, their special rule that gives them AP1. As soon as you give it a rune, it loses the AP. So if you want to get AP on your hand weapon, you have to pay twice to get it up to AP2. Yeah. Otherwise, you may as well have just not put anything on it. But you can do.
If you want the attack, it basically just costs the points of the AP rune if you want to maintain that as well, right? So you have to pay for the attack and also buy your AP back.
So right? you can buy a weapon tattoo. An attack tattoo. So I go +1 attack from the tattoo, which is like 15 points. So you get up to 65 points, and it doesn't it doesn't affect the weapon. But keep them cheap, or go give him Master Rune of Alric the Mad and do some funny stuff there. I don't necessarily recommend that, but it's better than it was when it came out, because now people have on average higher armor saves. So if you just want to go in and deal with if your opponent's bringing full plate great swords, which suddenly might actually be a thing, and you need an answer to it, the Doomseeker isn't it, but the Doomseeker will feel good going into that unit. So
the one thing to watch out for is how people are playing the you can only take common items thing, right? So I don't know how this is supposed to work if you can only take common items, but good luck. Have fun with that one.
I feel like okay, let's just move on immediately before opening up that kind of worms. Let's just assume that it makes sense, and it sounds like you're thinking A tier for the Doomseeker. Does that ring true?
Yeah, it's not mandatory. It's a nice thing to have. I'm going to take it in most of my armies. It's going to do its job most of the time. Yeah. It's an A.
I think I agree with that. Like I look at it. I think it's good. Do I want to put it in my list? Not massively, but I can see why someone would, and I think it'll do a good job there. So A tier feels pretty solid to me. Now we've got the other dwarf unit, which I hope you're excited, because there are 2 dwarf units after the Doomseeker in the book, and both of them are mercenary units that can be used in different, or it can be used in different detachments, I should say. One of them is the Royal Clan Warriors, which are very, very cool. That's not what we have here, unfortunately. We've got the Imperial Dwarf Mercenaries, which are kind of like the proto-sellswords, in that they have so many things. They've got great weapons, spears, crossbows, handguns. You start with light armor, you can give them heavy armor, you can buy shields, you can give them, you've got special rules you can give them, drilled and veteran. You can give them standard runes. They have magic resist because they're dwarves. They get shield wall, which is just a good rule to have. They're pretty pricey. They start out at 8 points instead of 4 for sellswords, so that's a bit of a problem there. But yeah, they're not core, so they don't score. And we've already got this unit, but cheaper. So I don't really see a use for them unless you want them for flavor reasons.
Yeah, I mostly agree. Yeah, like the there's not a lot of point to these guys because yeah, they're kind of just expensive. They pay for having the versatility. Like on a lot of dwarf units, they kind of get some stuff kind of built in for discounted cost or like for half a point or whatever in there.
Sure.
These guys have to pay a point for everything, so they're going to be rocking quite expensive. Um, I don't see myself using these that much. Probably never. I do own a unit of dwarves back in the day from when we used to use these with as like dogs or dwarves.
Sure.
But I don't see myself doing it. They do have a couple things going for them, right? So like again, the same issue as before, where like we already have a ton of cool stuff in core. We're not looking for more things to pay the tax anyway. So like it's not a massive downside that these guys aren't also able to touch the strategic locations. It is what it is, whatever, right? We have plenty of units to just go do that. Um, and if you really want to, you can take a kind of an extra war banner with the dwarf standard rune that gives you +1 combat. That's
Yeah.
kind of nice, I guess.
Gets you a second war banner.
Yeah, you get 3+ saves for not that expensive. 10 points a guy. It's not that many more points than a veteran sellsword. And these guys are toughness 4,
Hmm.
and they are leadership 9 base. They have MR. They have shield wall, which I
Sure.
think army doesn't have shield wall other than these guys. So it is something. Yeah, they're not a complete garbage nonsense thing, but they're like a unit that I struggle to find a reasons to use.
If you
So
could
yeah,
join characters to them, I could maybe see a world where you go, actually, I'm going to run
yeah,
this unit as the veteran sellsword with great weapons with the Steed of Shadows caster. But because you can't put the caster in there to give them the second attack and the extra AP and everything else,
yeah.
it just doesn't hit for me.
Yeah, not being able to have characters join is a pretty big downside. The also a glaring error on flavor, in my opinion, is why do these guys who are Imperial dwarves not have the detachment rules?
Oh,
Like, if
true.
come on, it's like an obvious thing. How cool would it be if you could have a big unit of dwarves and then duders with great swords as your detachments or whatever, right? Or even these guys as detachments with crossbows or something, right? It's so silly that they don't, right? But it is what it is.
Sure. Yeah. That makes sense. So, where would you like to put them? F tier or C tier? Those are your two options.
Yeah, like I said before, I don't think they're not a catastrophe. They're not really. There's no like. There's not a lot of opportunity cost because you're kind of looking for stuff to fill that last 500 points anyway.
Yeah.
So if you really like them, go for it. If you got a cool unit, then you get to put them on the board.
I will say Wizard Badges had a great suggestion in chat. Yeet a tooled up Doomseeker at the enemy with Steed of Shadows and make them deal with him. I don't know why I didn't even consider this. This is
Yeah,
this is an army that can take. I mean, people were talking about it with Empire, but you're taking demonology wizards in every, I think, in
yeah.
every list that you run for Renegade Crowns. You don't necessarily want to do that with Empire, so just fitting that character in the Doomseeker there feels pretty damn easy to do. And just go in the back lines and cause them some issues. God, a dwarf flying 24 inches, what a sight to
It's
behold.
awesome. Hey
What a
man,
good day to be alive.
Imperial dwarves can do the same thing.
Yeah, I'm a lot less excited about that. But that is a true point that we should acknowledge.
Yes.
Bone Crusher. Now, Bone Crushers are, let's talk about the good first. They're huge. They're very big models. They look comically lanky. They're very, I think, obviously inspired by what was the anime where everyone's a giant and they eat people?
You're
Yeah,
asking the wrong guy there.
yeah. Well, the problem is, I think neither of us are really anime watchers. Attack on Titan.
That's
There we
right.
go. So if you've seen those giants with their weird proportions and like horror faces, it feels very much inspired by that. And I think I've run out of good things to say about the Bone Crusher.
So, regarding the Bone Grinder Giant, which is
Yeah,
the unit that's in the game that we're talking about here.
yeah.
Just to
I
be
like it so
totally
little
aware.
that I can't even remember its name.
You don't even care to know its name.
No.
Just be gone. You know what? I like a lot of people don't like giants. I think giants are fun. Like they're similar to mangler squigs in that like if your enemy has a lot of shooting, they're gonna die. They got a
Yeah.
big target pointer in their head. They don't really have much in the way of defense. If the enemy doesn't have a lot of shooting, suddenly that's a big scary nonsense thing. And if it rolls the right numbers, it can mess you up. Um, compared to a normal giant, this guy's twice the cost. And in my opinion, you don't really get a ton out of that. You get a couple extra wounds. You get the luxury of, getting kind of like a tailored chart instead of just rolling a straight d6.
Sure.
Um, there's not a lot else going for him here. But the thing about this guy in this army is that this is the only monster you can take, right? So if you do want to have a big guy,
Yeah.
you want to have, like, you can't even take a griffin or anything, right? So if you want to have a big cool centerpiece mini in your army, this is an option. Is it going to do a lot for you in the game? Probably not. It's quite expensive. It's 300 points. But again, like, once again, we have a sick core thing with the sellswords and stuff, and now the outriders.
Yeah.
The characters, you're probably not going to cap out on characters, even if you're taking like 3 wizards and a prince and a captain and a couple captains. You're probably not at 1,000 points, so you're going to have some extra points to spend. So like, there's probably worse things to spend your points on than this. So I don't think it's a complete disaster. Again, but it's like, do I want this? Probably not.
No.
Yeah.
I have put it in F tier while you were talking.
I can see.
Yeah.
I see. Yeah. I figured. But yeah.
I've got one correction, which is a slight nudge in the favor of the Bone Grinder. It's not twice as much as a giant. It's only 50% more.
True.
Amazing. True. That's so good. I will say, actually, your point about the tables being better is very fair. Like, you actually are likely to, if you ever get this model into combat to do something meaningful, you're actually likely to do something with it. It's not for me, Chief. And if it's for you, I hope you have a fun time playing it. I think that's the best thing I can wish for you.
I've had experiences with giants where they've messed me up, so I have a healthy respect for them. But that's pretty much all I got to say about these guys. You know what? In full disclosure, you want to do some terror nonsense.
Yeah.
You can do some terror stuff where you have Necromancy Wizard, and he causes terror, and you can maybe engineer some terror elsewhere in your army. I don't know if that's possible, but maybe.
First of all, thank you so much, Amy, for giving me money to tell me how disappointed in me that you are. I appreciate that. That's very kind
I
of you.
tried. I'm so sorry. I tried.
Secondly, terror bombing is such a fun and cool idea that doesn't actually make it to the table. As someone who has been part of many discussions about terror bombing, with armies that are actually kind of set up to do it, like when the Beastman book came out, I was talking to Tom Carley of Team England fame, who was our resident Beastman player for a long time, and he was like, we gotta do something with terror. There's spells that we can take, we can debuff their leadership, we've got Kralmore who does things, and then we got to the end of the list and was like, oh, this is just bad Beastman. So I think it would just be bad Renegade Crowns, because if you're taking Necromancy, you're not taking your realistically the thing that does the most heavy lifting for your range damage, which is the summoning, the demonology signature spell. You might be lucky and roll into the whatchamacallit, the Unquiet Spirits, which is not a bad spell, to be fair. That is good. But if you're either rolling for it or you're picking it, and if you're picking it, then you're not taking the Steed of Shadows character, which I think is just it's a real opportunity cost there. So I'm struggling to find a place for this that I don't hate, I would say.
I don't want to yuck anybody's yum, and some people love this thing. Val Heffelfinger and some of the people in our chat here love this thing. We can
sit Val down and have an intervention and say, we're seriously concerned about you. The Bone Grinder Giant is bad and it's ruining relationships with your friends and family, and he'd still be jazzed to play it. So I don't think we need to worry about ruining his fun specifically. That's
fair. That said, if this is your thing, then go for it. Otherwise, maybe consider living on the bench.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh god. Has a Flavor says, if you want to cast Unquiet Spirits and play humans, boy, do I have an army for you. Oh no! Oh no! We're not going to say their name 3 times because they may appear and table me, which is a concern because I'm not actually playing Warhammer at the moment. But yeah, so that takes us to the end of the tier list, and that's pretty heavily weighted towards the top half there. If we took the Dogs of War out, that's very heavily weighted towards the top half, which I think is a great place to be for a book. I know you've already said that you're jazzed about this. I'm jazzed about this. I think it's such a fun army. It's just nice to have something where you're playing the game and the goal is not necessarily like, how much damage can I do with this army? It's like, what else can I do?
This army is great because kind of what the thing that got me into Warhammer was I wanted to be that ordinary guy who's out there in the world of monsters just trying to make it work. So I had an Empire army that didn't have any of the, the fancy stuff. I didn't have any steam tanks. I didn't have any griffins. And, I kept my magic pretty tight. And I was just, guys in pajamas with swords and shields and guns and stuff. And I was just trying to make it work. If that's what appeals to you about fantasy, this army is perfect. It's very well, it's like pretty well written. There's not a lot of like, loosey. There's a couple things, but whatever. But if all you want to do is put dudes on the board and try and maneuver around and fight, this is a great army for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And the last point that we should very quickly talk about, because you had a great suggestion, is what models you want to use. Obviously, plenty of Games Workshop sculpts. You can work out which ones. They even recommend like you could use a mixture of these models for this unit.
Yeah.
Great, amazing. Thank you so much. You've made it easy for people to get in if they don't have a starting point. That's genuinely a good thing to see. But you had a great suggestion. Do you want to share what you're thinking about doing for yours?
Oh man, there's first of all, before I tell you what I was going to do, there's a million historical minis out there that are perfect for this. There's War Games Atlantic. You're talking Perry miniatures. You're talking there's just look it up. You'll find a million of them that are awesome. And what I'm going to do with mine probably is Max Mini has a range of halflings, and they have Dogs of War specific halflings.
Yeah.
So you can get your Lost Legion guys that are halflings. You get your guys with crossbows. You get your Pig Rider Knights. You get all this stuff, and it's pretty affordable, and they're small, so like it saves you on painting because you only got like a little bit of surface area to work with, and they're pretty and unique. So that's what I'm gonna do.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that works really well. I'm just pulling them up I'm trying to find them. So I was sort of umming and ahhing. I was like, oh, maybe this is the one to finally do the army, which is like, hey, this is just a full skeleton army. So there's a couple of, I can't remember who does them. Someone will immediately say in the chat, I'm sure. But there is a STL creator who has done like skeleton beastmen, skeleton orcs. So I was like, oh, maybe I just find like a skeleton army that suits. I'm like, this is my weird undead army because everything's infantry, so the sculpts apply really well. And then I came across these conquistador models, and if I'm doing it, I'm doing conquistadors. These things look incredible. I'm very down. And then I was like, how do I do the wizards? Priests. My wizards are going to be priests.
Spanish Inquisition guys, obviously.
Nobody ever expects it.
Yeah, perfect.
So that was what I was thinking there. I think those look like really good models.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I think that takes us basically to the end. Do you have any closing thoughts about the army that you think we haven't covered, or have we gone into good enough depth?
There were a lot of rumors about this army, and a lot of people were looking forward to the pikemen and some of the old Dogs of War stuff coming back. I am a touch disappointed that's not in here.
Sure,
but rest assured, I hope, and I have good reason to believe that there'll be more to this story. It's not the end here, so. For all you pikemen lovers out there, just be patient, and maybe one day we'll get what we want.
I think it's a good gateway drug to Dogs of War. So I'm kind of the opinion that everything we want for Old World will happen. It'll just take a while. So maybe we just get a more supported Dogs of War army in second edition, where maybe we get like a specific kit that's like, here's how you can build out your army. Also, now because we've done a specific kit, here's some pikemen. Isn't that cool? So something like that I think would be a lot of fun.
And then going forward, every Arcane Journal that comes out, there might be another Dogs of War unit in there. And that, that spices up this army a little more. Like maybe we get some Dogs of War Berserkers from the Norse book coming out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm actually shocked there's no Cathay Mercs. Because like that seems like an obvious thing to have, right? But yeah.
In the Jade Fleet Arcane Journal, where they go like, hey, this is where we work with mercenaries. It would have been a great opportunity to like...
Exactly, yeah.
Slap slap Dogs of War on balloon.
Well, just Jade Warriors or something, right?
No, specifically balloons.
We need more Skylanders in the world. That's right. You're right.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you get to this point, you can feel gratified that I'm actually secretly a balloon lover. So we'll end it there. I'll be back on Thursday. I got a fun one